Chapter 507. Noisy. Marquis Bayun struck out with his palm, and the black energy turned into a long saber that slashed down, tearing through the void and making the evil demon feel the threat of death. Human. The evil demon was furious as it punched out, colliding with the long saber. Boom. The fist cracked, and blood splattered everywhere. The anger on the evil demon's face quickly turned into fear. At this moment, an invisible wave spread out in all directions with Marquis Bayun as the center. Everything within the range of the wave became stagnant. The evil demon felt its body sink as if a huge mountain was pressing down on it. Its bell-sized eyes were filled with shock and anger. Domain. Human mighty figure. At this moment, the evil demon no longer had the intention to fight with Marquis Bayun. Human mighty figure. He was a powerhouse comparable to the demon gods of the demon abyss. Although it was at the 5th level of the heaven-human realm, it was still far inferior to such a powerhouse. It did not dare to hesitate. The evil demon turned around and ran. However, just as it was about to escape, countless runes appeared, and terrifying lightning fell from the sky, forcing the evil demon back. Grandmaster Array Formation. Boom. Without waiting for the evil demon to come back to its senses, Marquis Bayun took a step forward, and the great underworld dark sky had already slashed down. The evil demon wanted to resist. However, with the huge gap in strength, it had no ability to resist at all. The black saber slashed down, causing its body to crack, and it coughed out blood. In the next moment, Marquis Bayun stepped into the air with his hands behind his back and executed the 9 steps of immortal ascension. He took 5 steps in the air. The evil demon was directly suppressed. Its 10,000 feet tall body crawled on the ground like a huge mountain. Its hard skin cracked, and blood gushed out like a stream. Qin Shujian was now like a spectator, watching Marquis Bayun easily suppress a 5th-level, heaven-human realm evil demon. That kind of strength. It was the first time he faced a mighty figure directly. How powerful was he? Mighty figure. Qin Shujian's eyes flickered. He did not use his Dharma eyes to see Marquis Bayun's realm. After all, it was too eye-catching to see his attributes. If it was an enemy, it would be fine. However, the problem was that Marquis Bayun was an ally. If they were to look around at this moment, it would not look good on either side. However, even the weakest mighty figure was at the 7th stage of the heaven-human realm. According to the information he had obtained, Marquis Bayun was less than 1,000 years old. He had broken through to the heaven-human realm a few hundred years ago and had taken over the position of Marquis Bayun. A few hundred years. Being able to break through to become a mighty being was already a shocking feat. He should not have reached a limit yet. Therefore, in Qin Shujian's opinion, Marquis Bayun should be at the 7th or 8th level of the heaven-human realm. The 5th level of the celestial being realm was only 2 or 3 levels away from the 7th or 8th level of the celestial being realm. However, the difference was so great that it was surprising. Looks like the gap between celestials grows larger the further one goes. Breaking through to the 7th level of the celestial human stage allows one to condense their own domain, making one's strength even more terrifying. If I break through to the 7th stage of the celestial human stage, how long would it take to suppress a 5th stage celestial human stage evil fiend? Thinking about it from another perspective, Qin Shujian realized that if he were to break through to the 7th level of the celestial human realm, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to suppress a 5th level celestial human realm evil fiend. Or rather, if he could break through to the Saint realm, he would be able to suppress this demon. In terms of foundation, Qin Shujian was much stronger than ordinary celestial beings. While he was thinking, he didn't miss the changes in the field. In front of Marquis Bayun, this evil fiend had no power to fight back. However, whenever it wanted to escape, Qin Shujian would control the array formation and force it back. Boom! An ancient and vast aura came, and in the next moment, a shocking killing intent appeared. The void distorted violently and cracked. A stone spear appeared from the cracked void. There were some bloodstains on the spear, and it seemed like a god fiend was roaring angrily. The moment he saw the stone spear, Qin Shujian was shocked. Zubing, the stone spear in the human emperor's hand back, then was indeed Marquis Bayun's Zubing. The reason why Marquis Bayun followed the human emperor to the demon clan was that he had borrowed Zhu Bing. But fortunately, Qin Shujian had already known about these things, so although he was shocked when he saw Zhu Bing, he recovered in an instant. However, although he was fine, some evil fiends were going crazy. Zhu Bing, the evil fiend's ferocious face was full of fear. Waves of demonic qi burst out, trying to break through Marquis Bayun's suppression, but it was useless. The evil fiend wasn't too afraid when it was suppressed by Marquis Bayun earlier. But now that Zhu Bing had appeared, it was really terrified. If possible, this evil fiend wanted to go back to the original seal and bury himself. Zhu Bing, that would really kill the evil fiend. The gentle smile on Marquis Bayun's face was no longer gentle. The moment he held the stone spear, he had already slashed at the evil fiend. He stabbed out with the spear. The void shattered. It seemed like a simple spear, but it showed the shadow of a god-fiend falling. A terrifying murderous aura erupted in an instant, causing everyone who felt this aura to be shaken to their core. "I won't." The evil fiend was frightened and roared crazily. Powerful demonic qi condensed in its body, trying to resist Zhu Bing's attack. However, compared to Zhu Bing's power, the demonic qi was too weak. In front of Zhu Bing, the condensed demonic qi was easily torn apart. Then, with a flash of blood, the evil fiend's body stiffened and then fell to the ground powerlessly. Rumble. The earth shook, in Qin Shujian's sight. Earlier, when the ancestral armament killed the evil spirit's blood essence instantly withered. Even its spirit deity's consciousness withered. At the same time, the aura of the stone spear also became stronger. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's expression changed again. He's become stronger. Could it be that Zhu Bing can increase his power through killing? Qin Shujian wasn't sure. Because he didn't have Zhu Bing, the sect had been worshipping the blood of 1,000 mountains, but it didn't have much effect. It was difficult to make Zhu Bing. With the tens of thousands of disciples, even if they worshipped day and night, it was impossible to make one Zhu Bing in a few years. Otherwise, with the hundreds of millions of people in the Great Zhao country, Zhu Bing could be mass-produced. In the past, Qin Shujian didn't know the difficulty of making Zhu Bing, so he spent time carving stone statues for the disciples to worship. If he had known, he would never have wasted this time. At this moment, the evil fiend was killed by Marquis Bayun, and its body turned into yuan-corroding bone powder and scattered on the ground. Qin Shujian praised, "Zhu Bing's power is really shocking. The immortal evil fiend was killed so easily. If the human race had thousands of Zhu Bing, they wouldn't be afraid of the threat of the demon abyss." It's difficult to make Zhu Bing. Since ancient times, there haven't been many Zhu Bing in the human race. Marquis Bayun also understood Qin Shujian's thoughts. Regarding this, he only said it in his heart that it was naive. During the ancient heavenly court, the myriad races were at their peak, and there weren't many supreme treasures that could kill evil fiends. Otherwise, even if the heavenly court couldn't resist the demon abyss, they wouldn't have ended up in such a state. After putting away Zhu Bing, Marquis Bayun said, "This place has been corroded by demonic qi. I hope Sect Master Qin can set up a purification array to purify the demonic qi here." "It's a small matter," Qin Shujian said with a faint smile. A purification array was just a matter of thought for him now. After the array was set up, Qin Shujian also removed the array formation that covered the fortress. Marquis Bayun rose into the air and looked at the army stationed outside the fortress. He said loudly, "The evil fiend here has been killed today. Quickly return to the imperial court to report." "Yes, General." At the front of the army, a general cupped his hands and accepted the order. Marquis Bayun nodded slightly and then looked at Qin Shujian. The two of them directly left this place, turning into streams of light and fleeing to other places. In Bayun Mansion, there were a total of 20 sealed evil fiends. Now that one had been killed, there were still 19 left. If 19 evil devils were to gather together, then even a supreme expert would have to retreat. After all, although mighty figures were strong, the evil fiends weren't weak either. Any evil fiend was at least a powerhouse at the first level of the heaven-human realm. Among them, there was no lack of powerful evil fiends at the fourth level of the heaven-human realm and below the seventh level. With such strength, even mighty figures couldn't contend with them. The strength of a cultivator at the seventh level of the heaven-human realm was much stronger than a cultivator below the seventh level of the heaven-human realm. But seriously speaking, both of them were at the heaven-human realm. Fortunately, the remaining 19 evil fiends were scattered and sealed in various places. In this way, things were much easier to handle. With Marquis Bayun's strength and Zhu Bing in his hands, a single evil fiend was no match for him at all. Even an ordinary demon god might not be able to contend with him. Under such circumstances, Qin Shujian was completely reduced to a spectator. During the battle, with Marquis Bayun around, he was responsible for watching from the side to prevent any evil fiends from escaping. Besides that, there was nothing else to do. Boom! Another evil fiend fell. Qin Shujian's eyes turned red. Every evil fiend. They all represented a large amount of life source and luck value. But with Marquis Bayun around, it wasn't his turn to collect the heads at all. At this rate, the evil fiends in Bayun Mansion should be cleaned up in a few days. Marquis Bayun put away the stone spear with a faint smile on his face. In a few days, he and Qin Shujian walked through half of Bayun Mansion and killed as many as 13 evil fiends. The two of them didn't stop. After settling one place, they immediately went to the next place. Marquis Bayun's strength is amazing. Otherwise, the evil fiends wouldn't be killed so quickly. Qin Shujian smiled and then set up a purification array. Let's go. Marquis Bayun didn't say much. Afterward, the two of them left this place. While Marquis Bayun was killing the evil fiends, the imperial court began to recruit a large number of manpower and resources to the end of the Skyend mountain range to build a huge city that could resist the other 3 continents. At the same time, the demon beasts in the Skyend mountain range were also wiped out by the imperial court's army. Then, many people moved to expand the territory of the human race. At this point, the entire eastern continent was completely occupied by the human race. In a hidden mountain forest, a group of players gathered together, led by Wang Renbin. Compared to the high-spirited Wang Renbin before, the current Wang Renbin was much more embarrassed. He was no longer handsome. What's the imperial court doing now? Wang Renbin looked at the people around him and asked coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, a young player replied, "The imperial court's army is sweeping the demon beasts in the Skyen mountain range and preparing to open up the territory of the demon race. They've also sent a large number of manpower to build a huge city at the end of the Skyen mountain range. In my opinion, they won't have time to pay attention to us in a short time." Bang! Wang Renbin smashed a rock beside him with his fist. His face was full of gloominess. Damn the imperial court. We can't go on like this. Now, there are still rewards for us everywhere. Even if they don't pay attention to us, it's difficult for us to have a chance to develop. Speaking of this, Wang Renbin's face became even gloomier. The human emperor faked his death. Not only did he cheat the vassals and the demon race, but he also cheated the players. When the human emperor fell, the system prompt said that the vassal mode would be activated. Many rich and powerful players tried their best to recruit troops and buy horses, wanting to take the opportunity to conquer the world. Among them, the Wang family, where Wang Renbin was from, had invested a lot of manpower and resources, almost emptying the Wang family's assets. In the end, the human emperor didn't die. If the human emperor didn't die, the human race would be in internal strife for a long time. They might not be able to fish in troubled waters, but at least they would have a chance to withdraw. In the end, as soon as the human emperor appeared, the rebels were gone. As for the demon race, they didn't even dare to fart. They hid in the Skyen mountain range and didn't come out until now. In this way, the other players who entered the vassal mode were miserable. The human emperor came back and swept through the wilderness with the force of thunder. All the rebel forces were uprooted in just a few days. Among them, there were many cities occupied by players. After a great battle, all the players who participated in it died at least 2 or 3 times. That wasn't all. Later, the imperial court issued a wanted order, and all the masterminds of the rebellion were wanted. There were also the Imperial Court's army sweeping back and forth in various mansions, specifically looking for the rebels. For a time, the rebellious players were having a hard time. Not to mention the drop in realm, they were also wanted by the Imperial Court. They had no chance to show up in front of people. It should be known that the game world now had a lot to do with reality. If one's realm fell here, it would also be affected in reality, and their cultivation would slow down. And excluding this factor, a large number of players died, and these vassal players also had to pay a lot of money. The Wang family, where Wang Renbin was actually considered good. After all, they had a deep foundation. Even after such twists and turns, they just suffered some damage and didn't go to the end. However, some of the weaker clans had declared bankruptcy and perished in this turmoil. Thinking of this, Wang Renbin was angry, but also a little relieved. At this time, the players gathered around him were all the team cultivated by the Wang family in reality. Wang Renbin was a direct descendant. Now that he was being hunted by the Imperial Court, he naturally had guards around him. "Young Master Wang, what do you plan to do now?" a player asked with a worried expression. It couldn't go on like this. They were suppressed to the point that they couldn't level up, but the other players were constantly accumulating strength. 10 days to half a month was okay. Now that everyone's realm had risen, such a short time wasn't enough to open up a big gap. But if it continued for a year and a half, or even 3 to 5 years, the gap would be too big. And they would also be officially eliminated by the other players. Wang Renbin's expression was gloomy, and he said in a cold voice, "Now the Imperial Court won't stop until they kill us all. If we want to fight against the Imperial Court's army, we have to gather all the players together. Otherwise, no one can fight against them. The only way now is to wait for the Imperial Court to open up the 3 major continents, and we can take this opportunity to sneak out." In his opinion, this was the last way. What was in the 3 major continents? He didn't know, but the Imperial Court definitely didn't know too much. The human emperor was powerful, but he only controlled the eastern continent. When the time came, the players would escape to the other 3 major continents. No matter how powerful the Imperial Court was, there was no way to find them. When the other players heard this, they all fell silent. Wang Renbin's idea was the only way out they could think of at the moment. In this situation, they could either fight to the death with the Imperial Court, or they could only escape. It was obviously impossible to fight to the death with the Imperial Court, so the only thing left was to escape. Wang Renbin said, "You guys contact some of the other aristocratic families and see what they think. It's best to persuade them to come over and leave together. The Imperial Court is now building a city there. In my opinion, when the time comes, even if they open up the 3 major continents, this entrance will definitely be firmly controlled by someone. It won't be easy for us to sneak out. If they also have ideas, it will be much easier for us to get out when the time comes." The Imperial Court's purpose of building a giant city was to defend against the 3 major continents, and to control the entrance to prevent others from entering and leaving at will. When the time came, if they wanted to force their way to the 3 major continents, it would be inevitable that there would be another big battle. After that, Wang Renbin continued, "Send some people out and pay close attention to the movements of the Imperial Court's army. As for the rest, stay here in the Skyan Mountains and raise the level that they have dropped first. We may spend the next year here. You guys should be mentally prepared." "Young Master Wang, don't worry. We know what to do." "That's good." Wang Renbin was also somewhat relieved. Fortunately, the Wang family still had some people who were trained in reality. They would not betray him at this time. After all, if they betrayed him, it would not be as simple as dying once in the game. With the Wang family's means, it would not be a problem to kill a few people in reality. In the real world, with the recovery of the spirit chi, more and more people stepped into the cultivation world. The spirit mountains and rivers of the various earth veins were gradually recovering. Many powerhouses who had retreated from the world were also showing their talents. In a mountain forest, a lot of spirit chi of heaven and earth gathered here. A person was sitting there cross-legged. As he breathed in and out, a large amount of spirit chi of heaven and earth poured into his body. After a long time, the Blade Master's breathing suddenly stopped. Invisible energy spread out from his body, and the spirit chi of heaven and earth that gathered here suddenly retreated. He opened his closed eyes, and light shot out from them. Whoosh! A tree that would take 3 or 4 people to encircle broke from the middle and fell to the ground. Rumble! The loud noise startled a large number of birds. 7th level of the true martial realm, physical invulnerability. The Blade Master got up, exhaled softly, and then checked his condition. Immediately, he shook his head regretfully. Physical invulnerability. In his heyday, such strength was no different from an ant. He could kill thousands of them with just a breath. But a real man would not boast about his past glory. The Blade Master was now only a physical invulnerability cultivator. Although he was confident that he could kill people of the same level as easily as eating and drinking, it could not change the fact that his cultivation was not high. What a pity. I can only reach this level now. If I go any higher, I will attract attention. The Blade Master looked at the sky with a touch of coldness on his face. The strongest person in this world now was only a physical invulnerability cultivator. Although he was not sure which level they were at, he was sure that they had not reached the spiritual martial realm. Now that the spirit chi has recovered, the group of people who cultivate the fastest will always be watched by heaven and earth. I'm just a stowaway. If heaven and earth watch me now, I will be in big trouble. In the Blade Master's view, the rules of this world were too perfect. Compared with his original strength, they were not at the same level at all. It took him a lot of effort to sneak in with his means. Now he did not dare to show his face easily. In order to enter this world, the Blade Master had waited for too long. It wasn't that he hadn't experienced death before, but if all his previous efforts were wasted, it wouldn't be so easy for him to enter again. He took a deep breath. A palm-sized cyan token appeared in the Blade Master's hand. On top of the token, there were 2 mysterious characters. At this moment, 3 cracks had appeared on the token, occupying 1/5 of it. I just broke through to the physical invulnerability stage, and now there is 1 more crack. If I were in the first realm now, the token would have been broken. It seems that I have to slow down my cultivation. But now that the spirit chi has just recovered, the physical invulnerability stage is enough for now. There is no need to continue improving my strength. He put away the token solemnly. The Blade Master glanced at the surroundings, then wiped away all the traces he had left behind before leaving. He walked in the forest. The Blade Master would not deliberately attack, but anyone who dared to attack him would be killed by him. Especially now that the spirit chi had recovered, many beasts had become more bloodthirsty and ferocious. The forest where ordinary people could step into freely had gradually become a dangerous place where ordinary people could not approach. The forest was lush with vegetation. Mountain peaks of various sizes were scattered all over the place, forming a natural scene. There was smoke rising up ahead, proving that there were traces of people there. The Blade Master stopped in his tracks and looked at the mountain beside the smoke. There, he sensed a weak spiritual aura. Cultivator, the Blade Master murmured. He originally wanted to walk towards the smoke, but now he changed his direction and walked towards the mountain. In the eyes of others, as long as one reached the first level of the martial arts realm, they could be called a cultivator. But in the eyes of the Blade Master, only those who had reached the real martial arts realm were qualified to be called a cultivator. Strictly speaking, the basic martial arts realm was not a cultivation level at all. It was just a process of laying the foundation. The so-called 1st to 10th levels of the basic martial arts realm were all like that. Only when one broke through to the real martial arts realm and condensed true essence in his body could he be considered a real cultivator. Chapter 508. In the yard, Tai Chingzi was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the dilapidated Taoist temple, breathing in the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. He now spent a certain amount of time playing games every day. The rest, he cultivated in the Taoist temple to improve his cultivation. At this moment, all of a sudden, Tai Chingzi had an idea. When he opened his eyes, he saw that there was already another person outside the courtyard. Seeing this scene, Tai Chingzi looked calm, but his heart was uncontrollably shocked. Immeasurable Lord of Heaven, may I know who you are? Why did you suddenly come to my small Taoist temple? While speaking, Tai Chingzi had been secretly sizing up the newcomer. Since the spiritual chi recovery, he had stepped into the real martial arts realm. Now, his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the real martial arts realm, which was close to the physical invulnerability stage. Even if Tai Chingzi didn't easily get involved in the mortal world, he knew that there were not many people in the world who were stronger than him. But the person in front of him gave him a strange feeling. He couldn't see through it. He couldn't figure it out. If he didn't see it with his eyes, he wouldn't even notice that there was a person standing here. About this, Tai Chingzi's heart skipped a beat, and his expression turned solemn. Such an expert came to his place for no reason. He was definitely not just passing by. The 6th level of the real martial arts realm, the peak of the inner invulnerability stage. It's only been a year since the spiritual chi recovery, but you've already reached such a level. You're amazing, the Blade Master said with a smile, cupping his hands. Seeing this, Tai Chingzi also got up, cupped his hands, and asked, "May I know where you're cultivating?" This was a Taoist gesture. Some people could do it, and some couldn't. But it was the first time he saw such a correct gesture like the Blade Master's. Even he might not be able to do it as perfectly as the Blade Master. The Blade Master said with a smile, "I'm just an ordinary individual cultivator. I came here to take a look because of the spiritual chi. I didn't expect to see you cultivating here. I'm Tai Chingzi. I haven't asked for your name. My name is a thing of the past. If you want a name, just call me Dao." Dao. Tai Chingzi frowned imperceptibly. Such a name was a bit strange. However, judging from the other party's appearance, he might also be an expert from some hidden sect. These sects were secluded from the world all year round, so they were very different from ordinary people. It was normal for them to have strange names. Tai Chingzi also felt relieved. The Swordmaster did not explain further. Instead, he took out a jade stone and threw it at Tai Chingzi. The jade broke through the air. His aura was quite astonishing. Tai Chingzi's heart skipped a beat. He infused his energy into his palm and caught the jade stone. Looking at the jade lying quietly in his palm, he frowned again. "Brother, may I ask what this is?" "This is the jade talisman of the Heavenly Alliance. You can make it recognize you as its owner by dripping your blood on it. You can communicate with other members of the Heavenly Alliance through the jade talisman. You can exchange for whatever you want as long as you can pay a sufficient price. Similarly, if you help others to complete their missions, you can also get a corresponding reward. In the Heaven Alliance, these are called Heaven Dao points." The Blade Master explained. Heavenly Alliance? Tai Chingzi looked puzzled and his heart turned heavy. He had never heard of this name before. The Heavenly Alliance was founded by you. What's the purpose of this organization? If it were an ordinary person, Tai Chingzi would have driven him away. But the Blade Master was different. He felt that the Blade Master was too powerful. In Tai Chingzi's opinion, the Blade Master was at least a physical invulnerability realm practitioner above the 7th level of the martial realm. It was even possible that he was above the true martial realm. He would not offend such a strong person if he could. Tai Chingzi was not afraid of death, but he did not want to die without knowing why. Spiritual chi had just recovered, and he was already a practitioner at the 6th level of the martial realm. He had a chance to reach the divine martial realm or even the celestial being realm in the future. The future was still bright. He could not waste it. The Blade Master said, "The Heavenly Alliance has existed since ancient times. No one knows who founded this organization. The purpose of the Heavenly Alliance is to provide a platform for practitioners in the cultivation world to communicate and help each other. You have to understand that with the recovery of spiritual chi, we humans can enter the cultivation world, and so can other things. Besides, you only need to know that the recovery of spiritual chi is just the beginning. There are still many things waiting for us. The purpose of the Heavenly Alliance's existence is to improve the overall strength of the human race as much as possible and cultivate strong practitioners who can deal with future disasters." "Brother, do you mean that the recovery of spiritual chi is a disaster?" Tai Chingzi's expression changed. He had never heard of what the Blade Master just said. However, with the Blade Master's strength, there was no need to deceive him, unless he had a bigger purpose. However, Tai Chingzi could not figure out what the Blade Master's purpose was. Anyway, the human race would really face a great disaster. In the past, Tai Chingzi would not have believed such nonsense. But it was different now. The recovery of spiritual qi had caused many changes in the world. No one could tell whether these changes were good or bad. It's hard to say whether it's a blessing or a disaster, an opportunity or a disaster. The Blade Master tried his best to fool him. He did not care whether it was a disaster or not. He just said it as mysteriously as he could. If the human race is strong enough, what will appear in the future will be an opportunity. If the human race is not strong enough, what will appear in the future will be a disaster. There are some things that I can't tell you too much about now. If you can grow to that level one day, everything will be clear. It's meaningless to say too much before that. Hearing that, Tai Chingzi lowered his head slightly and fell into silence. He could no longer tell whether the Blade Master was telling the truth or not. And what kind of organization was the so-called Heavenly Alliance? Had it really existed for a long time, or had it just been created? It was hard to say. Everything was hard to say. Soon, Tai Chingzi woke up from his thoughts. He looked up at the Blade Master and said, "Brother, why did you come to me? I've already told you the reason. It's because you have the potential to become a top practitioner." The Blade Master put his hands behind his back and looked proud. Those who can join the Heavenly Alliance can't be mediocre. You can break through to the physical invulnerability realm within a year of the recovery of spiritual qi. Your talent is not top-notch, but it's top-notch. As long as you don't die in the future, it won't be a problem for you to reach the God martial arts realm. You even have a 30% chance of becoming a diviner. You should know that in the heyday of the Heavenly Alliance, only diviners were real members. Those below diviners were not qualified to come into contact with the Heavenly Alliance. Although the Heavenly Alliance has declined after the Dharma ending age, now that the spiritual qi has recovered, the Heavenly Alliance will eventually return to its former peak. If you didn't have the potential to break through to the diviner realm, I would never give you this Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman. After that, a terrifying aura emanated from the Blade Master. At that moment, Tai Chingzi felt as if he was in a purgatory of knives. The pure and terrifying killing intent made his firm Taoist heart tremble a few times. But very quickly, this feeling disappeared. However, at that moment, Tai Chingzi's expression changed. If he had suspected that the Blade Master might be an expert above the true martial realm, he was now sure that the Blade Master's strength had reached the spiritual martial realm. As for whether it would be higher, Tai Chingzi wasn't so sure. The Blade Master knew that the strongest person in the real world would not enter the spiritual martial realm, but Tai Chingzi did not know that. After all, there were so many cultivators in the world. It was possible that some of them had been hiding in the mountains and forests and had silently cultivated to an unfathomable level. In Tai Chingzi's opinion, he could cultivate to the 6th level of the true martial realm. It was not impossible for those geniuses or the older generation experts in the Dharma ending age to break through to a terrifying level while the spiritual qi was recovering. He ignored Tai Chingzi's thoughts. The aura he had just released had a deterrent effect. At least, in the Blade Master's opinion, he had already created a mysterious and powerful image in Tai Chingzi's mind. I've already said that the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman will only be given to the Destined One. I hope you cherish it. After the Blade Master finished speaking, he took a step forward and disappeared from the courtyard. Seeing this scene, Tai Chingzi's pupil shrank again. Distance shrinking. So close, yet so far. He was not sure what method the Blade Master had used. However, Tai Chingzi was sure that the Blade Master must be an expert who lived in seclusion. Thinking of this, he looked at the jade stone in his hand. The Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman. Normally, the most appropriate way to deal with an unknown object was to throw it away. However, Tai Chingzi thought of the Blade Master's method and what he had said. He hesitated again. It was easy to throw away the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman. However, it would be a big deal if he missed an opportunity because of this. Moreover, what really made Tai Chingzi hesitate was the great calamity that the Blade Master had mentioned. Is the spiritual qi recovery really a calamity? Tai Chingzi's expression changed again and again. If the recovery of spirit qi was a disaster, then would it be a disaster when the world fell into the age of Dharma ending? Or, the Dharma ending age was not a calamity but a means of self-protection? For a moment, Tai Chingzi thought of many things. He felt that he seemed to have come into contact with some kind of truth, However, there was a thick fog in front of him that blocked his vision. He wanted to dispel the fog. However, he could not dispel it. In the end, Tai Chingzi looked back at the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman in his hand. After hesitating for a while, he bit his left index finger and smeared a drop of blood on it. The blood fell on the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman. It immediately seeped into the talisman like water touching soil. Then, a faintly discernible connection appeared in his mind. Tai Chingzi pressed the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman against his forehead. A huge amount of information appeared in his mind. Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman, Heavenly Path Points. He could accept corresponding missions to earn Heavenly Path Points. Heavenly Path Points could be used to exchange for resources, including cultivation methods, elixirs, and even weapons. Apart from that, if the Heavenly Alliance members had corresponding information, they could also communicate in the Heavenly Alliance chat group. Heavenly Alliance chat group? When Tai Chingzi saw the words, he took down the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman and was dumbfounded. The Heavenly Alliance is keeping up with the times. The chat group had even appeared. How could they not keep up with the times? However, although he was speechless, Tai Chingzi was still surprised by these methods. At the same time, he was deeply afraid of the Heavenly Alliance's existence. After a short period of shock, he pressed the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman against his forehead again. There were a total of 3 interfaces in the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman. One was a mission interface, one was an exchange interface, and one was a chat group interface. First was the mission interface. There were not many missions in the mission interface. There were only a few in total. However, Tai Chingzi was shocked when he saw the mission content. Mission 1. Seek a Yin-Yang 9 Rotation Mixed Energy Elixir, Level 9 Elixir Pill. Mission Reward, 100,000 Heavenly Path Points. Mission 2. Kill a ferocious beast in the ancient land. Its strength is suspected to be around the 3rd level of the Heaven-Human realm. Mission Reward, 500,000 Heavenly Path Points. Mission 3. Seek help from a senior to break through the God Martial Arts realm. Mission Reward, 10,000 Heavenly Path Points. Mission 4. Seek Tianluo Star Iron. Mission Reward, 20,000 Heavenly Path Points. There were a total of 13 missions, but each of them left Tai Chingzi dumbfounded. He did not know what the Yin-Yang 9 Rotation Mixed Energy Elixir was. However, the Level 9 Elixir Pill at the end made him understand how precious it was. There was also something about killing a ferocious beast in the ancient land and being at the 3rd level of the Heaven-Human realm. What ancient land? Is there a place called the Ancient Land in this world that even has ferocious beasts at the 3rd level of the Heaven-Human realm? Tai Chingzi was completely stunned. He suddenly realized something. The world had become so strange. Among the 13 missions, none of them were easy. Before he got the Heavenly Alliance Jade token, he thought he was strong enough. But now, Tai Chingzi, on the other hand, realized that he was really weak. There were so many unknown things in this world. Calamity. For some reason, Tai Chingzi thought of this word again. He looked at the missions above. Although he had some doubts in his heart, he did not suspect too much. The Heavenly Alliance Jade token was already very unusual. He suppressed the shock in his heart. Tai Chingzi exited the mission area and went to the exchange area. It was also divided into several sections. There were mainly 6 sections, including cultivation methods, martial arts, elixir pills, divine weapons, precious armors, and tools. Tai Chingzi browsed through them one by one, and then exited with a dull look. During this day, he had been shocked too many times and became a little numb. Finally, then, Tai Chingzi entered the chat group. Please set a nickname for your name. A prompt appeared in his mind. Tai Chingzi instinctively wanted to use his Taoist name as a nickname, but he did not know why. He paused when he was about to set it. Then, he typed a few words and then chose to confirm. Then, the image changed again. A more modern chat window appeared in Tai Chingzi's mind. There was another prompt. Little Taoist joined the group chat. 9 Heavens Immortal Emperor. Welcome newcomer. Boundless Holy Man. Another newcomer. Not bad. Shuesha. Welcome. Darkness Emissary. Welcome. Then, there was a row of welcome words. There are so many people. Tai Chingzi looked at the constantly refreshed chat history and was stunned. He knew that the Heavenly Alliance was not simple, but he was still surprised when he saw so many people. However, when he saw the nickname, his expression became strange again. 9 Heavens, Immortal Emperor. Boundless Holy Man. These people were really good at bragging. He looked at his nickname, Little Taoist. It seemed too low-key. Just when Tai Chingzi was about to send a message. Boundless Holy Man, Brother Jutian, I heard that an ancient beast appeared on your side. How have you been? Has it been resolved? Jutian, Immortal Emperor. Sigh. If it had been resolved, I would have cancelled the mission long ago. Let it be arrogant for now. I will become a heavenly being in 2 days. I will kill it then. Mouth of Darkness. Piffed. Jutian, can you do it? Don't ask us to collect your corpse after you are killed by the beast. Jutian, Immortal Emperor. Shut your dog mouth. I will go over and smash your dog head. If it were not for the decline of my strength, I would not have allowed a small beast to behave so atrociously. Jiotian, Immortal Emperor. Now that the spiritual chi has recovered, my strength will recover quickly. I will kill it in 2 days. Mouth of Darkness. Keep bragging. I will become a heavenly being soon. Do you want me to go over and help? Jiotian, Immortal Emperor. Get lost. Shuesha. Stop arguing. I think Jiotian will have no problem dealing with the beast. Let's cancel the mission. It seems that a Holy Land will appear in a month's time in the Great Holy Region. Do you want to go and take a look? Mouth of Darkness. Are there any restrictions on the appearance of a Holy Land? Shuesha. There should be some restrictions, but they are not big. Those below heavenly being able to enter. Little Taoist. Tai Chingzi mechanically sent a message and then fell into silence. At this moment, there was only a big F***ck in his heart. He originally thought that the other party came up with these nicknames casually to scare people. But looking at those chat records, he realized that it did not seem to be the case. What about breaking through to heavenly being? What about the decline of strength due to the decline of thousands of years? What about the Great Holy Region and the appearance of a Holy Land? These words all revealed the aura of a big shot. Could it be that these people are really hidden powerhouses or existences before the Age of Chaos? Tai Chingzi was shocked by the thought that emerged in his mind. It had been thousands of years since the Age of Chaos. If that was the case, then what level of existences were these people at? He was suspicious, but after looking at the chat records, Tai Chingzi fell silent again. At this time, in the chat group, after Shuesha revealed the news of the Holy Land, many people had already joined in the conversation. There was no lack of big shots among them, as well as some questions from newbies. Seeing this, Tai Chingzi could not help but send a message. Little Taoist. Big shots. May I ask what the Holy Land is? Boundless Holy Man. Oh, so it's a newbie. Usually, this kind of question requires heavenly Tao points. But seeing that you just came, you probably don't have much to gain, so I'll tell you for free. Little Taoist. Thank you, Tao Master. Boundless Holy Man. The so-called Holy Land is a secret realm created by powerhouses above the diviner level. But with the advent of the Age of Chaos, many Holy Lands have sealed themselves off, waiting for the spiritual energy to recover before they reappear. Boundless Holy Man. In addition to abundant spiritual energy, there are also some precious treasures in the Holy Land. If you're lucky, you can also obtain some cultivation techniques. But generally, for safety, the Holy Land will have some restrictions. Boundless Holy Man. For example, it restricts powerhouses above the diviner level from entering to prevent the Holy Land from exploding when fighting. Little Taoist. So it's like this? Thank you for your explanation. Boundless Holy Man. What level are you? Little Taoist. True Martial Stage 6. Boundless Holy Man. A series of ellipses. Tai Chingzi saw a strong sense of disdain in them. Suddenly, he fell silent. Tai Chingzi was no longer proud of his strength at the 6th level of the martial realm, because just a few seconds ago, he had been despised by someone. Soon, Tai Chingzi calmed himself down and immediately took advantage of his newbie's advantage to ask all kinds of questions. He gained a lot in an instant. On the other side, after Tai Chingzi dripped his blood to become his master, the Blade Master sensed it. As expected, No one can resist the temptation of opportunity. The Blade Master shook his head and laughed. Then, he took out a heavenly Tao jade talisman and placed his divine thought on it. After a long while, the Blade Master was speechless, because he found that the person he had just fooled had a lot of questions. He thought that the other party would keep a low profile since he was so old, but the truth was completely opposite. It's okay. Let's chat if you want. I have many alt accounts, so I'll chat with you slowly. Soon, the Blade Master collected himself and continued on his way while answering Tai Chingzi's questions with all kinds of alt accounts. Now, only a piece of the Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman had been distributed, so it didn't have much effect, although the Heavenly Alliance was just something he made up. But to be honest, the Blade Master had his real purpose for creating the Heavenly Alliance. In the following period of time, every time the Blade Master went to a place, he would give a Heavenly Alliance Jade Talisman to a true martial realm cultivator who had some cultivation. Then, he would use the same trick he used on Tai Chingzi to trick others. In less than half a month, dozens of people appeared in the Heavenly Alliance chat group. Like Tai Chingzi, these people were the cultivators the Blade Master had fooled. However, he had a requirement for the people he chose. They had to at least break through to the true martial realm, but not the physical invulnerability realm. In general, among these dozens of people, the lowest cultivation was LV1 of the true martial realm, and the highest was LV6 of the true martial realm. As for those with higher cultivation, they would easily attract the attention of the Heavenly Tao. The Blade Master wasn't ready to expose himself yet, as more and more people appeared in the Heavenly Alliance chat group. Most of the time, these newcomers were chatting with each other. In this way, the Blade Master had a lot of free time. He didn't need to use a bunch of alt accounts to chat with one or two people and liven up the atmosphere of the chat group. Now, he only needed to let a few of the big shots Smurfs appear once in a while and chat casually. Chapter 509. The matter of the Heavenly Alliance had just begun, so it did not attract much attention. The Swordmaster did not spread the Heavenly Alliance in one place. Instead, he found suitable people in each city, threw out hundreds of jade talismans, and then moved on to the next city. One had to know. The population in a city was at least 1 million. Throwing hundreds of jade talismans into a city was no different from throwing stones into the sea. The Swordmaster was not in a hurry. Haste makes waste. Moreover, he was a stowaway. With the recovery of spirit chi, the Heavenly Tao had also awakened. The Heavenly Tao, the Swordmaster had always been wary of it, especially since he was a visitor from the foreign realm. Even if he was at his peak in the past, he still had to be careful when facing the Heavenly Tao of this world. There's no hurry. There's still a long time. Take it step by step. Sooner or later, it will blossom. The Swordmaster smiled and looked at the crowd in front of him with a calm expression. Being able to sneak into this world was the greatest victory. The rest, he was no longer in a hurry. This is the only chance in the endless years. I can't mess it up. Otherwise, it will be troublesome. Suddenly, the Blade Master let out a sigh. He had forgotten how long he had existed. As time passed, some of his memories had become blurry. If it were not for the fact that the past was engraved in the depths of his divine soul, the Swordmaster would have long forgotten about it. Then, the Swordmaster thought, I've already reincarnated. I wonder how many of those guys have been revived and how many have been drowned by the river of time. Although he had thoughts in his mind, he did not have the intention to go back and take a look. Every time he returned to his original world and came out again, his body would be tainted with a trace of aura. For others, being tainted with this trace of aura was not a big deal, because these people's essence was still engraved with the imprint of this world. However, the Swordmaster was different. Even if he had occupied Peng Qing's body and devoured everything of him, his divine soul did not belong to this world. If he was tainted with too much of the aura of the foreign realm, it would be easy for the Heavenly Tao to detect it. The Swordmaster estimated the gap between his current strength and the Heavenly Tao. In the end, he shook his head. No hurry, no hurry, the Swordmaster murmured softly and then disappeared into the vast crowd. There were too few people in the Heaven Alliance. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he would need a long time to accumulate experience. Even though there was still a lot of time left, no one could be sure that there wouldn't be any changes along the way. If something went wrong, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. Boom! The stone spear shattered the void, and gods, demons, immortals, and saints fell. Marquis Bayun held the Zhu Bing in his hand and nailed a fourth-tier celestial being evil devil to the ground. No matter how the other party wailed and struggled, it was useless. It didn't take long for Zhu Bing to absorb all of the evil spirits. Qin Shujian said enviously, Zhu Bing can absorb the power of the demons he killed. If he could kill all the demons in the demon abyss, how strong would Zhu Bing become? The current Zhu Bing was already this strong. If it continued to rise, it would be too terrifying. Marquis Bayun shook his head and said, "You're thinking too simply. If Zhu Bing could rise without restraint, how could the demons dare to enter this world so easily?" Marquis, do you mean that Zhu Bing's rise has a limit?
Yes.
Marquis Bayun stroked the stone spear with his palm and sighed. Zhu Bing is a real divine weapon created by heaven and earth. After reaching this level, Zhu Bing doesn't have a specific level. However, there are also differences in strength among Zhu Bing. The more living beings one killed, the more energy the ancestral armament would be able to absorb. Thus, the strength of the ancestral armament would also increase. However, there's a limit to this absorption. Marquis Bayun looked at Qin Shujian curiously. Marquis Bayun smiled faintly and said, "If Zhu Bing's power rises to a certain level, it will usher in its own tribulation. If it survives, Zhu Bing will become stronger. If it fails, it will die in the tribulation." Does Zhu Bing also have a tribulation? This time, Qin Shujian was really surprised. Zhu Bing was going through a tribulation. If Marquis Bayun hadn't said it himself, he really wouldn't have known. Not to mention him, even the Bow of the Cosmos might not know about this. No matter what, the Bow of the Cosmos was only a spiritual weapon. Even if it had some imprints of heaven and earth, it couldn't know too many things. After owning the Bow of the Cosmos for so long, Qin Shujian often chatted with it. Many of these topics were related to Zhu Bing. Unfortunately, the Bow of the Cosmos only knew how to cast Zhu Bing. Other than this, it knew nothing else. Marquis Bayun said, "Under the rules of heaven and earth, all living things have a tribulation. It's just a matter of whether it's big or small. If you want to get more power, you have to endure a corresponding tribulation. Strictly speaking, this shouldn't be considered a tribulation, but a test. If you want to control more power, you need to have enough strength. Otherwise, you can't be superior to others." Was there ever a Zhu Bing who was destroyed in a tribulation?
Yes.
Was there ever a Zhu Bing who survived a tribulation?
Yes.
In the end, Marquis Bayun added, "But compared to Zhu Bing who was destroyed, there are very few Zhu Bing who survived a tribulation." Hearing this, Qin Shujian finally understood something. Ever since he found out that the ancestral armament could absorb the power of the evil demons, he had always been curious as to why the Marquis of Northern Cloud didn't use the ancestral armament to kill the evil demons, and instead left the ancestral armament for him to handle. In the beginning, Qin Shujian thought that Marquis Bayun didn't want Zhu Bing to be exposed. But now it seemed that Marquis Bayun might have this concern. But there was another factor, which was Zhu Bing's problem. The power Zhu Bing absorbed was too strong. Then it would suffer a tribulation. If it could survive the tribulation, it would be fine. But if it couldn't, it would suffer a great loss. Qin Shujian knew very well how difficult it was to forge a Zhu Bing. There were only 2 Zhu Bing in the entire human clan, so one could imagine how difficult it was. Once a Zhu Bing was destroyed, the human clan would lose an arm, but it wouldn't be far from it. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian said with a solemn expression, "Marquis Bayun is now using Zhu Bing to kill enemies. Aren't you afraid that Zhu Bing will transcend a tribulation?" It's not easy to accumulate enough power to transcend a tribulation. The Marquis of Northern Cloud shook his head and explained, "Even if it's just an ancestral armament, it still needs to kill dozens or even hundreds of celestials in order to gather enough power to pass through the tribulation. Moreover, after passing through a tribulation, the ancestral armament will be able to withstand even more power. However, no matter what, there is still a limit. If it weren't for the current situation, I might not have killed these demons. If it was sealed, then so be it. If it weren't for the fact that he had no other choice, Marquis Bayun would rather these demons be sealed for thousands of years. It was just that the current situation was different, so he had to kill these demons. Originally, Qin Shujian was a little envious of Zhu Bing's power, but now it seemed that it wasn't the case. Zhu Bing might bring about a tribulation when he killed the demons, but he didn't have this hidden danger when he used the Red Lotus of Purgation to devour them. Perhaps the Red Lotus of Purgation also has this problem, but the limit it can withstand is definitely not something that Zhu Bing can compare with. Qin Shujian thought for a moment. There were at least hundreds of demons who had died in his hands. Even so, the Red Lotus of Purgation didn't have any problems. This alone was enough to prove that this ability was more powerful than he had imagined. In fact, Qin Shujian was thinking about a problem. Should he secretly train a group of men of sacrifice who specialized in cultivating the Guiyuan Ancestral Classic? This Guiyuan Ancestral Classic was not the abridged version in the library, but the complete version, the kind that could cultivate the Red Lotus of Purgation. In this way, it was equivalent to having a group of people who could kill demons. For short, human Zhu Bing. However, as soon as this idea appeared, Qin Shujian extinguished it. The Guiyuan Ancestral Classic was of great importance. Once it was spread out, it would do him no good. Unless he was 100% sure, Qin Shujian would never take out this trump card. The principle of keeping a tiger in one's bosom was applicable everywhere. If the demons failed to refine him, and he was refined by someone else, it would be a disaster. Qin Shujian said, Marquis Bayun's ancestral armament. How many calamities did it undergo? 3. Marquis Bayun said with a smile. Zhu Bing, who had survived 3 tribulations, was already considered a very powerful existence among Zhu Bing. Every tribulation was a metamorphosis. Surviving 1 tribulation was strength. Surviving 2 tribulations was strength. Surviving 3 tribulations was even more strength. Hearing this, Qin Shujian was also a little jealous. After overcoming 3 divine tribulations, one could very well imagine how powerful the ancestral armament was. The biggest trump card in his hand was the 7-seal Taoist artifact, the 13-grade Golden Lotus. This was his means to contend with a powerful figure. But now it seemed that Qin Shujian suspected that the 13-grade Golden Lotus might not be able to withstand a blow from Zhu Bing. I do have something I'd like to ask you about. What is it? Is Zhu Bing really completely superior to Taoist artifacts? Can a Zhu Bing who has not transcended a tribulation easily crush a 9-seal Taoist artifact? Qin Shujian asked the question that had been in his heart. He had always wanted to know. Was Zhu Bing really so powerful that it could completely crush a Taoist artifact? If it was true, Qin Shujian would be lying if he said that he was not discouraged. He had worked so hard to improve a Taoist artifact, but in the end, he was told that Zhu Bing could easily break it. Even a 9-seal Taoist artifact would have to call Zhu Bing daddy in front of it. If that was the case, it would be heartbreaking. At the same time, Qin Shujian also had to consider whether to fight or flee if he encountered a powerhouse who was holding a Zhu Bing in the future. Marquis Bayun took a deep look at him and then said, Zhu Bing and Taoist artifacts are on 2 completely different levels. They are either above Taoist artifacts or Zhu Bing. There is actually no comparison between the 2. Qin Shujian nodded secretly. The Bow of the Cosmos had said that Zhu Bing was completely superior to Taoist artifacts, but it didn't seem to be the case after hearing Marquis Bayun's words. Compared to the half-baked Bow of the Cosmos, he was more willing to believe in Marquis Bayun. Marquis Bayun said, Not all Zhu Bing are more powerful than Taoist artifacts, but there is an essential difference between the 2. It's very difficult for an ordinary Taoist artifact to contend with Zhu Bing. Marquis Bayun's stone spear versus a 9-seal Taoist artifact. Which side is more powerful? A 9-seal Taoist artifact is already considered the pinnacle of Taoist artifacts, and it is also an existence that is close to Tao transformation. However, in front of my Zhu Bing, it can withstand 3 rounds. Marquis Bayun thought for a moment and gave an answer. A 9-seal Taoist artifact could withstand 3 rounds. Qin Shujian was a little speechless. At the same time, he was also shocked. Zhu Bing was really too powerful. A A 9-seal Taoist artifact couldn't withstand a few rounds of Zhu Bing's attacks. A 7-seal Taoist artifact could already withstand the attack of a mighty figure. If it was upgraded to a 9-seal Taoist artifact, it was still unknown whether an expert at the heavenly being limit could compare to it. Is Zhu Bing really that powerful? Sect Master Qin, you're mistaken. The powerful one is not an ordinary Zhu Bing, but a Zhu Bing who has transcended a tribulation. The difference between a 3-tribulation Zhu Bing and a 2-tribulation Zhu Bing is much greater than the difference between a 3-seal Taoist artifact and a 2-seal Taoist artifact. A 9-seal Taoist artifact is already a creation of heaven and earth. With the power of a 9-seal Taoist artifact, it is enough to suppress a 1-tribulation Zhu Bing and confront a 2-tribulation Zhu Bing. I see. Qin Shujian nodded thoughtfully. Fortunately, it was still okay. The 9-seal Taoist artifact wasn't as weak as he thought. Although it couldn't withstand a 3-tribulation Zhu Bing, it was enough to confront a 1 or 2-tribulation Zhu Bing. A 3-tribulation Zhu Bing. Even though Qin Shujian didn't know much about Zhu Bing, he could guess that there were very few Zhu Bing who could reach the 3-tribulation level. In this way, if the Taoist artifact could be upgraded to a 9-seal Taoist artifact, it would be very useful. When he thought of the 7-seal Dao artifact that he had on him, Qin Shujian felt a little more confident. A 7-seal Taoist artifact. In that case, they should be able to withstand the attacks of ordinary ancestral armaments. Marquis Bayun said, "There's still a sealed evil spirit in the Bayun mansion. There's no time to lose. Let's go there first." No problem. Qin Shujian nodded. After setting up a purification array that covered the stronghold, he left with Marquis Bayun. Boom. A stream of light tore through the sky. Half a day later, the two of them arrived at a majestic fortress. In the stronghold, Marquis Bayun showed his identity token and then ordered all the troops to withdraw. Then, he followed Qin Shujian to the seal altar. He looked at the seal altar on the ground. Qin Shujian's pupils constricted slightly. 9-star array? No, 10-star array. At a glance, the array was mysterious and obscure, emitting a terrifying power. To be honest, Qin Shujian had killed so many evil spirits, but this was the first time he saw the 10-star array. All along, he thought that the strongest evil spirit seal in the human race was the 9-star array. But now that the 10-star array had appeared, it meant that the evil spirit sealed under the array must be very terrifying. Could it be a fiend celestial sealed under it? Qin Shujian looked a little shocked. He could tell that the array master who set up the 10-star array was definitely not as simple as the first realm. Even with his current vision of the peak of the second realm, he still felt that it was obscure. It could be seen that the person who set up the array might be a third realm master. Third realm master. Qin Shujian had comprehended the enlightenment crystal given to him by the human emperor some time ago, which was left by a third realm master. The comprehension of the power of crystals was hard to understand and mysterious. It also made him understand that the gap between the second realm and the third realm was much bigger than the gap between the first realm and the second realm. Marquis Bayun shook his head and said, "I don't know. Maybe it's a fiend celestial, or there are several sixth realm celestial beings sealed inside." You don't know? Qin Shujian was stunned. Was there anything in the Bayun mansion that Marquis Bayun didn't know? Were you kidding me? Marquis Bayun glanced at him and said calmly, "Do you really think that the Great Zhao is the entire history of the human race? Before the Great Zhao was established, humans and demons existed side by side in this world. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, there are many things that no one knows. The seals of the spirit realm and the other major realms were almost all set up by the powerhouses 10,000 years ago. Some of the seals left by the human race will be passed down by the powerhouses. Some of them may not be set up by the human race, or the powerhouses who set up the seals did not leave behind any information. Therefore, not everyone knows what's inside the seals." Marquis Bayun's words enlightened Qin Shujian. That's right. The spirit realm and the other major realms had existed long before the Great Zhao had established the world. Furthermore, the surroundings of these realms had been surrounded by a large number of true dominion and mortal realms, which had existed for countless years. In that case, the evil demons sealed inside had to have a long history as well. At this thought, Qin Shujian said solemnly, Marquis Baiyun, are you sure you want to open the seal here? If there's a powerful fiend celestial, the problem will be troublesome. Or do you have the confidence to kill the fiend celestial? Even if I can't kill the fiend celestial, I still have Sect Master Qin, right? Qin Shujian was speechless. Marquis Baiyun really thought highly of him. If it was really a battle between the fiend celestial and the Almighty, how could he, a first-realm celestial being, intervene? Although he had a grade 13 golden lotus with him, it was used to resist attacks. Besides, Qin Shujian was not 100% sure how long the grade 13 golden lotus could resist the Almighty. Upon seeing his speechless expression, Marquis Baiyun smiled and said, Sect Master Qin, you don't have to worry. This seal has existed for at least 50,000 years. After 50,000 years, even if the fiend celestial is sealed below, it won't have much strength left. After all, although the fiend celestial is strong, its strength needs the support of fiendish qi. Although spirit qi seeped into the array formation, spirit qi is highly toxic to the evil demons. They won't absorb spirit qi to cultivate. Just 50,000 years is enough to make a fiend celestial without fiendish qi enter a weak state, let alone a long time. 50,000 years. The Almighty of the human clan had endured for 50,000 years and died countless times. The evil demons had a long lifespan, which was why they could hold on. However, although they were alive, it was hard to say how much strength they had left. Qin Shujian felt a little helpless as he said, Marquis Baiyun, you can finish your words in one go next time. Don't leave half of your words unfinished. It's quite tiring. Hearing this, Marquis Baiyun smiled slightly and immediately changed the topic, saying, but there's one thing you still have to pay attention to. The evil demon sealed by the 10 stars array is not simple. Even after 50,000 years, it's hard to say what kind of tricks it has left. Before I break the array, please set up the array first to ensure that the evil demon won't escape. Otherwise, the people of Baiyun Mansion will be plunged into misery and suffering. At the end of his words, his expression was extremely solemn. This was not a joke. Marquis Baiyun also had a hunch that there might really be a fiend celestial sealed inside. It would be fine if such a powerhouse was killed, but once it escaped, there would not be many people in the world who could keep the fiend celestial in check. After all, if such a powerhouse wanted to escape, who could stop it? If a fiend celestial went out and caused a demon disaster, at least half of Baiyun Mansion would fall. Even Marquis Baiyun had to treat such a problem seriously. Qin Shujian took a deep breath and said, give me some time. He had to set up an array, and it was an array that could resist the fiend celestial, so he had to use all his strength. In fact, he even had to participate in the battle. Qin Shujian did not dare to ignore this possibility. If a powerful fiend celestial really appeared, Marquis Baiyun would really drag him along. In that case, Qin Shujian also had to be fully prepared. After saying that, he spread out his divine thought and engraved array patterns in the void, densely packed like a large net. An invisible wave spread out from it, which made Marquis Baiyun's heart skip a beat. Domain? Only a mighty figure could condense a domain. But Marquis Baiyun had already felt the power of a domain in the array set up by Qin Shujian. Array Dao Grandmasters are blessed by nature. Marquis Baiyun sighed with emotion. A Grandmaster at the second realm could touch the power of a domain, although there was still a certain gap between such power and a domain set up by a mighty figure. But a domain was a domain. In a domain, there were rules. It could be said that Array Dao Grandmasters were walking in front of ordinary cultivators. Only when a cultivator broke through the celestial being and reached the saint realm could they control the power of heaven and earth. Only when a mighty figure could they turn the power of heaven and earth into the power of their own domain. But Array Dao Grandmasters were different. A Grandmaster at the first realm could borrow the power of heaven and earth to set up an array, and a Grandmaster at the second realm could directly have the power of a domain. In terms of power, the first realm of the Grandmaster could only correspond to the third level of the Transcendent Realm, and the second realm could only correspond to the third level of the Saint Realm. This also led to, as long as Array Dao Grandmasters were well prepared, they could suppress experts of the same realm. Of course, The strength of the array also had a lot to do with the cultivator himself. Qin Shujian was only at the first level of the celestial being realm, and with the means of the second realm of the Grandmaster realm, he could only set up a weakened version of a domain. But when the other party broke through to the level of a mighty figure and combined with the array domain, he would definitely be able to suppress a mighty figure of the same level. Marquis Baiyun felt the changes in his surroundings and suddenly had an idea. Should I also learn about array formations? With one more method, my strength will definitely become stronger. However, he quickly dispelled this thought. Array Dao was strong, but he had to reach the second realm of the Grandmaster realm to be of help to his current cultivation. Even if Marquis Baiyun thought that he was amazing, he was not confident that he could reach the second realm of the Grandmaster realm. Talent in cultivation was different from talent in array formations. Even someone as strong as Marquis Baiyun was not confident that he could reach the height of Qin Shujian. It was foreseeable. Once Qin Shujian reached the level of a mighty figure, combined with the other party's array formation methods, he would definitely be one of the strongest among the mighty figures. Marquis Baiyun was very confident about this. Become stronger, there are still too few human powerhouses. Chapter 510. Buzz. Fluctuations spread out like waves. The void was slightly distorted. Marquis Baiyun said, "Is your array stable enough? Can it withstand the full power of a mighty figure's domain?" "Try it first," Qin Shujian said. Hearing that, a vast domain rose from Marquis Baiyun's body, and immediately, the array trembled violently. Countless array patterns appeared in the void, and then it collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye.
Stop, stop.
Qin Shujian's expression changed, and he quickly stopped Marquis Baiyun's action. He was also cursing in his heart. Qin Shujian knew that the domain of a mighty figure conflicted with the array. After all, Marquis Baiyun's domain had caused a reaction in the array during their previous cooperation. But at that time, Marquis Baiyun didn't display the entire domain like now. Now that the domain had spread out, it almost burst the array. No, it wasn't a close shave, but it could really cause the formation to explode. Marquis Baiyun frowned and said, "If it's really a fiend celestial, I'm afraid I'll have to use all my strength. In that case, it will clash with your array. I'll try again." After Qin Shujian said that, he immediately repaired the broken array patterns and then took out the spirit stones from his storage ring. He originally wanted to take out 100 spirit stones. However, after thinking about it, he decided to take out 365 of them to make up the number of heavenly cycles just to be safe. Then, a 13th grade golden lotus was placed in the array to support and suppress the entire array. Qin Shujian said painfully, "Marquis Baiyun, if the spirit stones are used up, the imperial court will have to reimburse us. After all, there are tens of thousands of disciples in the Yuan sect waiting to be fed. We don't have much food left." When setting up an array with spirit stones, the origin power inside would be extracted if one wasn't careful. This was a completely different concept from rushing in to cultivate. Marquis Baiyun said, "Don't worry, the imperial court will pay for you." "That's good." Qin Shujian breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, "Marquis Baiyun, try again and see if you can shake the array." Hearing that, Marquis Baiyun immediately expanded his domain. This time, although the formation trembled, it showed no signs of collapsing. Qin Shujian said, "It looks like there won't be much of a problem using your domain within the array formation. But, unless it's absolutely necessary, I still don't recommend that you fully utilize the strength of your domain." "All right, I got it." Marquis Baiyun nodded. To be honest, when he sensed the strength of the formation, he was also slightly shocked. A mighty one's domain was the strongest technique of a mighty one. It might seem simple to open a domain, but its power was not weak at all. But even so, he was unable to break the formation. A well-prepared array Dao Grandmaster was much more powerful than Marquis Baiyun had expected. Shortly after, Marquis Baiyun calmed himself down and took out Zhu Bing, breaking the seal of the 10 stars formation. The seal was strong. However, the 3 tribulations Zhu Bing was even more powerful. As the seal was broken, a terrifying and decaying power was emitted from it, as if a sleeping powerhouse was awakening. Boom. This feeling only lasted for 1 or 2 breaths of time. In the next instant, a shocking fluctuation spread out. A human? A hoarse voice came from below. Endless black fog emerged from the broken seal, blocking the vision of others. Whether it was Marquis Bayun or Qin Shujin, they both looked solemn at this time, waiting for the other party to appear. Judging from the fluctuation just now, it was indeed a demon god sealed here. But it was not clear how strong it was. Even the Marquis of Bayun was not 100% sure how much power the other party had retained after more than 50,000 years of experience. In the next moment, black fog surged. A middle-aged man in black armor walked out of the black fog and appeared in front of the two. Black armor? A human? Seeing the middle-aged man in black armor, Qin Shujian was shocked. He had seen many demons, but it was the first time he had seen one like this. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but activate his Dharma eye. His eyes turned into stars and fell directly on the middle-aged man in black armor. Name: Bloodfire Demon God Realm. 9th level of the Heaven-Human Realm. Seriously injured state. It was really a demon god. And it was a powerhouse in the 9th level of the Heaven-Human Realm. Qin Shujian's pupils constricted, and he was shocked again. At this moment, the middle-aged man in black armor, who was Bloodfire Demon God, seemed to have sensed something and looked at Qin Shujian with a hint of anger on his expressionless face. A human in the transcendent realm dares to covet the strength of a demon god. As soon as he finished speaking, Bloodfire Demon God struck out with his palm, and the void immediately collapsed. Qin Shujian did not need to say anything. The moment the other party attacked, Marquis Bayun stabbed out with the stone spear in his hand, and endless killing instantly erupted. Boom. With the two of them as the center, the space suddenly shattered. Bloodfire Demon God looked at Marquis Bayun, and his expressionless face became more solemn. An almighty of the human race. As he spoke, his gaze shifted to the stone spear, and his expression finally changed greatly. Zhu Bing, Bloodfire Demon God, was not afraid of an almighty of the human race. With his strength in the 9th level of the Heaven-Human Realm, he had killed an expert of this level when he was at his peak. Although he was not at his peak, he was still not afraid of an almighty. However, if an ancestral armament was to be added to the mix, the situation would be bad. An almighty of the human race was not afraid. But with an almighty of the human race and Zhu Bing, Bloodfire Demon God had to treat them seriously. Marquis Bayun did not say anything. While Bloodfire Demon God was still in shock, he had already charged over with Zhu Bing in his hand. They were both demon gods. Back then, the Azura Demon God gave him a threat, but it was not as powerful as the Bloodfire Demon God in front of him. This was an ancient demon god. He was so ancient that he had been sealed for at least 50,000 years and could still exert strength above the 7th level of the Heaven-Human Realm. Even though he had expected it, Marquis Bayun did not expect that there would be such an expert sealed in the seal. But now that the seal had been broken, it was meaningless to think too much. The only way to solve the problem was to kill the demon god. Bloodfire Demon God gave him a lot of pressure, but Marquis Bayun was not afraid at all. No matter how many levels of the Heaven-Human Realm the other party was, as long as he had not crossed the threshold, his strength and the power of Zhu Bing was enough to kill the other party. The moment Marquis Bayun attacked, Bloodfire Demon God also attacked instantly. As soon as he attacked, a monstrous demonic aura surged like the boundless hell. The stone spear shattered the vacuum and tore the boundless hell apart. The two exchanged blows at an extremely fast speed, and the terrifying power shattered the surrounding void. Demonic aura surged and murderous. If it were not for the array, the vast fluctuations would have spread out. So powerful. Looking at the two fighting, Qin Shujian's expression became solemn. After breaking so many seals, any evil demon that appeared was easily suppressed and killed by Marquis Bayun. It was the first time that such an intense battle had happened. Be careful, Marquis Bayun. He is a demon god in the 9th level of the Heaven-Human Realm at his peak. Qin Shujian had to remind him. Although Marquis Bayun seemed to have a high chance of winning, if he really fell, he would be in a lot of trouble. What's there to be afraid of? Marquis Bayun laughed heartily, and his attacks became even more fierce and terrifying. However, deep in his heart, there was also a trace of seriousness and doubt. He could not see through Bloodfire Demon God's specific realm, but Qin Shujian could see that he was a 9th-level Heaven Human Realm expert. Marquis Baiyun really had a lot of secrets. That was just a thought. Marquis Baiyun's attack did not stop. A large amount of true essence poured into Zhu Bing, constantly stimulating the power of Zhu Bing. The endless sharp power of slaughter stirred up the surrounding void. Bloodfire Demon God's palm crushed the void, and there seemed to be a gray river vaguely. The power of the collapse of heaven and earth caused the surrounding area to tremble continuously. Blood Demon Realm. Bloodfire Demon God roared at this moment, and a vast fluctuation swept out from his body. As the fluctuation spread, a monstrous sea of blood appeared in the void. The sea of blood surged and swallowed everything like magma. Marquis Baiyun snorted coldly. It's just a realm. It's the same as anyone else. As soon as he finished speaking, a wave of energy spread out from his body and collided with the Bloodfire Demon God's Blood Demon Realm. The two realms collided. The void collapsed silently. In an instant, only the sea of blood was destroyed. However, Marquis Baiyun's expression was grave. Bloodfire Demon God was a veteran Heaven Human Realm expert. After all, even if he was not at his peak, the power of his realm could not be underestimated. Now that his own realm had completely erupted, it could only offset the opponent's realm. Human, you're courting death. Since the realm was useless, Bloodfire Demon God's eyes were filled with killing intent. He blasted out a palm, and the palm aura directly expanded to thousands of feet in size, enough to cover the entire fortress. Fortunately, in the formation, Qin Shujian used the mustard seed Sumeru technique. With the small fortress as the foundation, he directly derived a vast space. Therefore, although Bloodfire Demon God's attack was powerful, it was not to the extent of bursting the space. Boom, boom. Both of them did not hide their strength, and the battle instantly entered a white-hot stage. Qin Shujian was constantly watching the changes in the battle. At this moment, he had a fierce expression and shouted, "Marquis Baiyun, remember to reimmerse me." After saying that, he did not wait for Marquis Baiyun to answer. He stepped into the air and directly entered the core of the formation. Once he entered the core of the formation, the entire derived space was under Qin Shujian's control. Through the formation, he could see the intensity of the battle between the two. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's divine thought spread out and operated the formation. The 13th grade golden lotus swayed, and 365 spiritual stones erupted with powerful spiritual energy. Outside the fortress, vast and boundless spiritual energy surged toward the fortress, alarming the garrison stationed outside the city. In addition to that, the experts from various regions also noticed the changes in this place. Inside the formation, in the sky above the dome of heaven, laws appeared out of thin air. Subsequently, Qin Shujian's divine thought moved, and all the rules directly fell on Bloodfire Demon God. A mere formation. How dare you control me? The Bloodfire Demon God was enraged. When the rules fell, he felt his power being suppressed. A terrifying force erupted from his body, and it was about to force the rules out. In my formation, I am the master. I don't care if you are in the 9th level of the Heaven Human Realm. Just lie down. Qin Shujian gritted his teeth, his eyes burning with anger. The next second, 100 spiritual stones shattered, and the power of the origin was extracted. The rules of the entire formation suddenly became several times stronger. Demon Seal. Boom. The heaven and earth rules that should have been forced out by Bloodfire Demon God fell in an instant. I'll kill you. 100 spiritual stones shattered. Vein Seal. Another 100 spiritual stones shattered. Chi and Blood Seal. One after another, the heaven and earth rules fell, forming a terrifying imprisonment that made Bloodfire Demon God roar again and again. Even if it wasn't at its peak, such a formation couldn't do anything to him. But the problem was, now that Marquis Baiyun was attacking fiercely from the side, Bloodfire Demon God's domain was completely offset by the other party's domain. Under such circumstances, Bloodfire Demon God no longer had the capital to fight against the rules. 300 spiritual stones shattered. In exchange, Bloodfire Demon God's strength was weakened by a whole 10%. Don't underestimate the 10% reduction. For Almighties, a 10% difference was enough to determine success or failure. Qin Shujian had also put in a lot of effort this time. The 300 spiritual stones shattered just like that. This wasn't a simple absorption of spirit qi, but directly shattering the origin inside. After that, whether Bloodfire Demon God died or not, these 300 spiritual stones would be permanently damaged. If Marquis Baiyun hadn't promised to reimburse him, Qin Shujian would never have put in so much effort. Well done, kill him. I'll reimburse you when I go back. Marquis Baiyun laughed loudly. He could also feel the weakening of Bloodfire Demon God. Marquis Baiyun didn't expect that Qin Shujian, who was casually recruited to help him, could play such a role at such a critical moment. A 10% reduction. That was enough. After laughing, Marquis Baiyun shouted angrily, "Today, I'm going to kill a demon god." Boom! Zhu Bing's power surged and instantly suppressed the demonic power of Bloodfire Demon God. The severely injured Bloodfire Demon God's strength was slightly weaker than Marquis Baiyun's. Now that it was weakened by another 10%, the gap had widened to the extent that it could determine the outcome. Zhu Bing suppressed heaven and earth, and an immortal god appeared amidst the slaughter. Bloodfire Demon God roared continuously, but in the face of Zhu Bing's power, he could only passively resist. Bang! A stone spear broke through the void and directly bombarded Bloodfire Demon God's body. A terrifying power erupted and sent the other party flying. Along the way, he smashed through countless voids and even caused the formation to tremble incessantly. Qin Shujian hurriedly drove the 13th stage Golden Lotus to stabilize the array. Marquis Baiyun, don't randomly attack. If you pull the demon god out, the array will be in trouble. He was arrogant. Marquis Baiyun was really arrogant. If he had the strength, he could just kill him directly. What was the use of using Zhu Bing to attack him? If Bloodfire Demon God took this opportunity to break through the array in one fell swoop, it would be a big joke. Don't worry, he can't escape. Marquis Baiyun took a step and disappeared on the spot. On the other side, Bloodfire Demon God took Zhu Bing's attack head-on, and the black armor on his body directly exploded. His sturdy body also cracked a lot, but it was quickly repaired by demonic qi. At this moment, Marquis Baiyun stepped on the air, and a terrifying killing intent appeared. Human, you really want to fight to the death with me? It's just catching a turtle in a jar. Don't overestimate yourself. Marquis Baiyun chuckled and performed the 9 steps of immortal ascension, instantly suppressing Bloodfire Demon God. At this moment, Bloodfire Demon God finally felt what it was like to be a tiger in a plane. He was an expert in the 9th level of the heaven-human realm, but he was now forced to such a state by a human mighty figure. Bloodfire Demon God wanted to self-destruct. That way, he wouldn't die in the hands of Zhu Bing and could be reborn in the demon abyss. At the same time, he was confident that he could kill Marquis Baiyun with the power of self-destruction. However, Bloodfire Demon God's bodies were too strong, so strong that they needed a certain amount of time to prepare for self-destruction. The human in front of him obviously wouldn't give him the chance. I've never killed a Bloodfire Demon God before. Today, I'll use you as an appetizer. Marquis Baiyun took a step forward and the 9 steps of immortal ascension suddenly landed. A terrifying power instantly erupted. Bloodfire Demon God coughed out blood continuously. At the same time, a vast amount of true essence surged into Zhu Bing, activating the power of the 3 tribulations Zhu Bing as much as possible. In an instant, the blood on the stone spear came to life. Rumble. Zhu Bing hadn't attacked yet, but the power had already suppressed the void to the point of cracking. That terrifying aura caused the Bloodfire Demon God's expression to change drastically. At this moment, he felt the threat of death. It wasn't a simple death, but a real death that even the demon abyss couldn't save him. Human, why do you have to kill me? I can promise that I will never invade this world. Under the threat of death, Bloodfire Demon God finally lowered his head. He didn't want to die. Or rather, no one really wanted to die. Even though he had been sealed for tens of thousands of years, Bloodfire Demon God didn't want to die. For Bloodfire Demon Gods, they had eternal life. Moreover, as a ninth-tier heaven human, he was considered powerful in the demon abyss. Even if he was reborn and returned to the demon abyss, there were still not many Bloodfire Demon Gods that could threaten him. In this way, Bloodfire Demon God chose to lower his head. If you kill me, Zhu Bing's power will definitely increase greatly. By then, he won't be far from transcending the tribulation. Once Zhu Bing fails to transcend the tribulation, the consequences can be imagined. I swear in the name of the demon abyss that as long as you let me go, I will never step into this world. Are you serious? Marquis Baiyun was a little tempted. Zhu Bing's power was still activated, but he had no intention of attacking for the time being. Killing a Bloodfire Demon God was good. But just as Bloodfire Demon God said, the power given by a Bloodfire Demon God was much more than that of other demons. Once Zhu Bing transcended the tribulation, it would be a huge problem. Bloodfire Demon God saw that Marquis Baiyun was tempted and said, I will swear in the name of the demon abyss. I will never go back on my words. Swear in the demon abyss. Marquis Baiyun hesitated. Bloodfire Demon God was relieved. The other party hesitated, which meant that he still had a chance. Just as Bloodfire Demon God was about to speak, the ancestral armaments that had been accumulating power the entire time suddenly shot forth. You're crazy. Bloodfire Demon God screamed in horror. He didn't understand why this human wanted to kill him. Didn't he know how dangerous it was for Zhu Bing to transcend the tribulation? Only 2 or 3 of Zhu Bing's 10 tribulations could really make it through. Could it be that this human was really so confident that he could guarantee that Zhu Bing would succeed in transcending the tribulation? Or did he really hate him so much that he wanted to kill him? Bloodfire Demon God searched through all his memories, but he couldn't find any grudges with Marquis Baiyun. At this moment, Zhu Bing had already landed, and his terrifying power directly pierced through Bloodfire Demon God. Marquis Baiyun said coldly, I'm not used to negotiating with the demon abyss. It's better to kill you. Human, you'll regret it. I've already sensed the aura of the demon abyss. Soon, this world will definitely become the paradise of the demon abyss. I'll be waiting for you. The Bloodflame Demon God smiled miserably. Soon after, he stared coldly at the Marquis of Northern Cloud as he threatened. Even though he was a demon god, he could only last for a while under Zhu Bing's fatal attack. Not long later, Bloodfire Demon God's entire body was absorbed by Zhu Bing, and his body turned into yuan corroding bone powder that scattered on the ground. After absorbing the Bloodfire Demon God's power, the ancestral armament's aura grew even stronger. The Marquis of the Northern Cloud had a calm expression as he put away his ancestral armament. Qin Shujian also walked out of the core of the array and landed beside Marquis Baiyun. Why don't you agree with him? Qin Shujian asked. If the Demon Abyss Oath was really useful, he would have one less opponent. Marquis Baiyun shook his head and said, the evil demon tribe can't be trusted. Although the Demon Abyss Oath is useful, it doesn't have much binding power. If I let him go, Zhu Bing in my hands will be exposed. Only a few people knew that he had Zhu Bing in his hands. This matter couldn't be exposed casually. When the Demon Abyss attacked the human race in the future, one more Zhu Bing that the evil demons didn't know about would increase their chances of winning. Or else, once the evil demons knew that he had Zhu Bing in his hands, the Baiyun Mansion would definitely be the target of many evil demons when they attacked the human race. This wasn't a good thing for him. Hearing that, Qin Shujian also nodded slightly. It seems that this Qin has misunderstood. However, there is one thing that I would like to know. What is it? Marquis Baiyun asked. The other party had a lot of questions, but for the sake of Qin Shujian accompanying him to kill the evil demons, he answered them patiently. Qin Shujian said, Marquis Baiyun's ancestral armament. How many more evil devils does it need to kill before its next tribulation? It's not a problem to kill dozens of demon gods. Qin Shujian's eyes flickered. He noticed the meaning of Marquis Baiyun's words. What he said was not to kill dozens of evil demons, but dozens of demon gods. There was still a big difference between evil demons and demon gods. In other words, Zhu Bing and Marquis Beiyun's hands still had a long way to go before the fourth tribulation. In Qin Shujian's opinion, this was also the reason why Marquis Beiyun killed the Bloodfire demon god so easily. If Zhu Bing was really about to transcend the tribulation, Marquis Beiyun wouldn't kill the Bloodfire demon god rashly even at the risk of exposing Zhu Bing's existence. Afterward, Qin Shujian removed the array and took back the 13th grade Golden Lotus, together with the remaining 65 spirit stones. Then, he set up a huge purification array in the surroundings. In order to increase the effect of the array, Qin Shujian put in another 5 spirit stones. The demonic qi of demon gods is extraordinary. I'll put in 5 spirit stones now to increase the purification effect. Plus the ones I used before, there are exactly 305 spirit stones. Qin Shujian reminded him faintly. 305 spirit stones was not a small number. Although the possibility of Marquis Beiyun going back on his word was not high, he felt uneasy as long as he didn't get the spirit stones. Marquis Beiyun said helplessly, "Sect Master Qin, don't worry. The Imperial Court will pay the spirit stones." Chapter 511. Anyway, he wasn't the one paying the spirit stones. Although Marquis Beiyun was in charge of Beiyun Mansion, it actually belonged to the Imperial Court. Killing the demons. That was the Imperial Court's business. If there were any expenses during this period, it would naturally be paid by the Imperial Court. What Marquis Beiyun had to do was to report the matter truthfully. It was no big deal. Beiyun Mansion would pay the 300 spirit stones first, and then the Imperial Court would pay. If Qin Shujian hadn't used the power of the array, Marquis Beiyun wouldn't have been able to kill the Bloodfire demon god so quickly and so easily. No matter what. It was also an expert at the 9th level of the Heaven Realm. No matter how weak it was, it couldn't be killed with a wave of the hand. The Imperial Court had a lot of business. Although 300 spirit stones was a lot, it wasn't a big problem for the Imperial Court to take it out. Moreover, Marquis Beiyun was sure that the human emperor must have received the legacy of the Heavenly Court. Not all the treasures of the ancient Heavenly Court fell into the hands of the human emperor, but he also benefited a lot. A few hundred spirit stones. That was just a small matter. After returning to the Marquis Beiyun's residence, Marquis Beiyun immediately took out 305 spiritual stones from the storeroom and handed them to Qin Shujian. Sect Master Qin, here are 305 spirit stones. You can count them. No need. I still trust Marquis Beiyun. Qin Shujian looked at the spirit stones on the table and put them into his storage ring with a smile. This time, he didn't get any profit from cleaning up the remaining demons in Beiyun Mansion. He was just going through the motions with Marquis Beiyun. Marquis Beiyun said, "Sect Master Qin has contributed a lot to cleaning up the demons in Beiyun Mansion. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. I will definitely help if I can." With Marquis Beiyun's words, this trip was not in vain. Qin Shujian cupped his hands and said, looking at the Marquis of North Cloud, he suddenly changed the topic and said, "I have something that I would like to trouble you with." "What's the matter?" "I want to experience the means of a mighty figure." Qin Shujian said word by word. The Marquis of Northern Cloud's expression turned solemn. He looked at Qin Shujian's expression and wanted to see if he was serious or just joking. After a while, Marquis Beiyun said, "Your foundation is very strong. Although you are only at the first tier of the celestial being realm, I can feel that the power contained in your body is not weaker than the second or third tier of the celestial being realm. However, you must understand that regardless of whether it is the second or third layer of the celestial human realm, strictly speaking, they are only at the transcendent realm. After transcendence is sainthood. Above sainthood is almighty." He was telling Qin Shujian. Even if it was a transcendent at the pinnacle, in front of a mighty being, he could still be destroyed with a wave of his hand. Qin Shujian said seriously, "Ever since I broke through to the celestial being realm, I fought with Du Chengwu and Shen Hong. Du Chengwu's peak strength is very strong, and I'm not his opponent even with the help of the array formation. However, I didn't get to experience too much during that battle. Later, when I fought with Du Chengwu, he was seriously injured and was killed by me in the end. I've already experienced the strength of the Transcendence and Sainthood experts, but to be honest, I want to broaden my horizons with the Almighty. When the human emperor condensed the heavenly court, he had once transformed into the heavenly court's divine general and obtained power that far exceeded his own. But at that time, Qin Shujian didn't have time to give him too much insight. He didn't know how strong or weak that force was compared to the Almighty. The three continents were about to open. Qin Shujian was sure that there must be Almighty in the other three continents. Sooner or later, he would also encounter such a strong expert. When that time came, if he was no match for him, he would only be defeated. Therefore, Qin Shujian now wanted to experience the strength of Marquis Baiyun. It was also a good opportunity to understand the gap between him and the Almighty and whether it was really to the extent that he couldn't make up for it. If it was, then he had to be prepared to encounter such a strong expert in the future. His gaze fell on Qin Shujian for a long time. Marquis Baiyun finally nodded and said calmly, "If you insist, then I'll fulfill your wish." "Thank you, Marquis Baiyun. Let's go. It's too noisy when the Almighty attacks. Let's go outside and find a suitable place." Marquis Baiyun stood up and walked outside. Qin Shujian also stood up and left behind him. The two of them left the city without notifying anyone. However, when the stream of light streaked across the sky above Zongyang City, the people who sensed it were puzzled. Marquis Baiyun left Zongyang City again. In the past, when Marquis Baiyun stayed in Zongyang City, he might not even take a step out of the city for a few years. But now, he left the city one after another, which made many people surprised and puzzled. Marquis Baiyun left the city again. The last time Marquis Baiyun left the city, he wiped out all the demons in the Baiyun mansion. Why did he leave the city this time? I don't know. The one who left with Marquis Baiyun should be Qin Shujian. Many experts were whispering to each other with their divine wills. In the Baiyun mansion, apart from Marquis Baiyun, Qin Shujian was the only one who could ignore the ceiling array of Zongyang City. The others, they couldn't do that. After leaving Zongyang City, Qin Shujian saw the hideous head that was abandoned outside the city. Even now, the head was still filled with thoughts that didn't disperse, and blood was still seeping out of the wound. It was the head of a heavenly human demon. Qin Shujian immediately confirmed the identity of the head. In the past, Marquis Baiyun went deep into the Skyen mountain range and killed a heavenly human demon with lightning speed. He even threw the heavenly human demon's head outside Zongyang City, which shocked all the demon clans in the world. According to the law of heaven and earth, experts who were killed would usually return to heaven and earth. Now that the heavenly human demon's head was abandoned here, it meant that the head was Marquis Baiyun's trophy. A heavenly human demon. Even if he was dead, he still had power and influence. An expert who had reached this stage was already very terrifying. Looking at the neat and smooth cut on the head, Qin Shujian felt a terrifying saber chi from it. This heavenly human demon was killed by a single saber strike. Qin Shujian thought to himself. If he remembered correctly, Marquis Baiyun had a bronze saber, which was a six-seal Dao artifact. It was the Dao artifact of Baiyun Mansion. After glancing at the head of the great demon, Qin Shujian followed behind Marquis Baiyun. It didn't take long for them to appear in the wilderness. The two of them stood in the air, facing each other, less than 30 feet away. "Make your move," Marquis Baiyun said calmly with his hands behind his back. Qin Shujian didn't hesitate. A powerful force was being nurtured in his body. "In that case, I'll make my move." As soon as he finished speaking, 397 acupoints vibrated at the same time. Blood flowed like a river of stars, and a terrifying force instantly erupted. At this moment, Qin Shujian no longer looked like a human. Instead, he looked more like a terrifying beast in human form. Boom! Qin Shujian took a step forward. The void distorted and vibrated. He struck out with a finger, and the sound of wind and thunder was heard. The finger energy shattered the air. Marquis Baiyun looked calm. When the finger energy was 3 feet away from him, a gust of energy appeared out of nowhere and directly blocked Qin Shujian's attack. The two collided, and a powerful fluctuation erupted. When the finger energy was destroyed, the energy shield also shook a few times. It's quite powerful. Marquis Bayun nodded. Then, he struck out with his palm. The palm energy turned into 1,000 feet in size. It sealed the surrounding heaven and earth and pressed down on Qin Shujian. It was a palm strike. He didn't use any martial arts. He only used the strength of an almighty to strike out with the simplest palm strike. But that was it. Even Qin Shujian felt a terrifying sense of threat. Before the palm energy arrived, the qi and blood in his body were already vibrating violently. An almighty. Qin Shujian took a deep breath. In the face of such an attack, the most appropriate thing to do was to retreat. However, this sparring session was to understand the gap between himself and an almighty. If he retreated, the sparring session would be meaningless. Therefore, Qin Shujian didn't retreat. Instead, he went forward and blasted out the great desolate devil suppression seal. It instantly collided with the palm energy. Boom, boom. Qin Shujian's body faintly cracked. He coughed up blood and retreated. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Logically speaking, at that moment, Qin Shujian had already lost. However, he had asked for a sparring session. If he lost with a single palm strike, he would be utterly embarrassed. Moreover, it was only until now. Qin Shujian did not use all his strength. An almighty is indeed powerful. However, it's impossible for you to defeat me with a single move. Qin Shujian's aura was high. He took a step forward and raised his strength to the peak. Astral myriad body. The 397 star acupoints seemed to have turned into stars at this moment, and an illusory river of stars flowed through the void. Great desolate devil suppression seal. A seal was blasted out. The galaxy surged, and the star acupoints rioted. In the face of this power, Marquis Bayun's expression changed slightly. He already knew that Qin Shujian's strength was not as simple as being at the first level of the heaven-human realm. Although Qin Shujian was at the first level, in terms of strength, he was definitely comparable to a second or third level expert. However, the attack at this moment, to be honest, it already had the power of a saint. Without drawing on the power of heaven and earth, this was the strength that a fourth-level heaven-human realm expert could exert. Although he was surprised by Qin Shujian's strength, Marquis Bayun was still an almighty. However, Marquis Bayun was an almighty expert after all. He stretched out his palm, and black energy spread out, turning into a long saber that slashed down. The galaxy descended. It shook the void and caused it to tremble. However, when the black saber slashed out, it caused the void to shatter and vanish. Boom. Qin Shujian's expression was extremely solemn. The moment the great desolation devil subduing seal was broken, the heavenly cloud god sealing finger also blasted out. The power of destruction and imprisonment wreaked havoc in the void, forcibly shattering the black longsword. Then, he disappeared on the spot. In the next breath, he appeared behind Marquis Bayun and blasted out a punch. Marquis Bayun did not turn around. He just turned his elbow and collided violently with Qin Shujian's fist. Bang! There was an explosion in the void. The force of the rebound almost caused Qin Shujian's body to collapse. But soon, under the surge of vast qi and blood, the rebound of the physical body was forcibly suppressed. Then, another great wilderness demon suppression seal was blasted out. Although this martial art disappeared from the attribute panel, Qin Shujian firmly remembered it in his mind. In terms of comprehension, even the creator of this martial art could only look at it in the dust. However, although the great wilderness demon suppression seal was strong, it was useless in front of Marquis Bayun. At this moment, an invisible wave came from the void. Marquis Bayun frowned. His divine thoughts spread out from his body, and a vast domain suddenly descended. When the domain descended, the long saber that had slashed at his spirit deity silently shattered. At the same time, Qin Shujian only felt boundless pressure surging from all directions, causing the vital energy and blood in his body to become stagnant. That was not all. Even the heaven and earth spirit chi in the surroundings was isolated at this moment. Domain. Although Qin Shujian had never experienced the power of a domain, after sensing the changes in the surroundings, he knew that he had fallen into Marquis Baiyun's domain. As soon as he entered the domain, it was equivalent to falling into the other party's palm. Although he could not be crushed to death easily, his strength was also weakened a lot. Boom! The black saber slashed out. Qin Shujian blasted out with his finger. The finger aura collided with the black saber, but it was destroyed in an instant. At the same time, the dustless celestial robe shone brightly and finally shattered together with the black saber. Seeing this, Qin Shujian did not make any more moves. When he stopped, the domain power that covered his body also disappeared. Marquis Baiyun took a step forward with his hands behind his back and landed on the ground. I've finally experienced the power of an almighty today. Qin Shujian cupped his hands and said in admiration. From the beginning to the end, he had been suppressed by Marquis Baiyun. The so-called counterattack was not worth mentioning at all in the eyes of the other party. Such a gap in strength, it made Qin Shujian feel a little uncomfortable. Although he still had the second realm of the Grandmaster realm and the 13th grade Golden Lotus that he had not used, Marquis Baiyun had also held back. Not to mention Zhu Bing, the other party had not even used the 9 steps of immortal ascension. The dark heaven of the great underworld, which could fight with the fiend celestial, also did not exert much power. Even though Qin Shujian knew that there was a big gap between him and an almighty. But now that he had fought, he realized that the gap was no longer big. Seriously speaking, this was the first time he had seen such a thing. There was no comparison at all. If Marquis Baiyun really wanted to kill him, it would definitely not take more than 3 moves. Even if he used the 13th grade Golden Lotus as a life-saving trump card, it would be the same. This was a gap in strength that could not be made up for by simple external objects. Marquis Baiyun comforted him. Sect Master Qin's strength is not weak. Once the Almighty's domain is activated, unless it is an expert of the same level, it is almost impossible to resist. In terms of real strength, Sect Master Qin is actually not much weaker than the 4th level of the celestial being. In time, your strength will definitely become stronger. Marquis Baiyun, you don't have to comfort me. Since I dare to ask for advice, I am also mentally prepared. Qin Shujian smiled and dispelled the haze in his heart. That's right. He was only at the 1st level of the celestial being realm now. If he used all his means, it would not be a big problem for him to fight with experts of the Saint realm, even if he could not match the Almighty. However, although Qin Shujian was not discouraged, his fear of the Almighty had increased by several levels. If I don't step into the 4th level of the celestial being realm in the future, it's best to run away when I see the Almighty. Qin Shujian made a rough estimation based on the exchange just now. If he wanted to fight with the Almighty, he would have to at least break through to the 4th level of the celestial being realm. If he was below the 4th level of the celestial being realm, he would have to stay as far away as possible. After all, once the domain was activated, the Almighty would have too much of an advantage when fighting against cultivators below the Almighty level. And even if he broke through to the 4th level of the celestial being realm, Qin Shujian was only confident that he could fight, but it was not 100%. This battle with Marquis Baiyun also gave him a more realistic understanding of the means of the Almighty. I have benefited a lot from Marquis Baiyun's guidance this time. There are still some things to deal with in the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain, so I'll take my leave first. Qin Shujian cupped his hands and said. He had no intention of returning to Zongyang City. This time, he had exchanged pointers with Marquis Baiyun and had fulfilled one of his wishes. As for the rest, it was more important to go back. Marquis Baiyun did not stop him. After the two of them left, other cultivators came here. That move just now is the dark sky of the underworld. I saw Marquis Baiyun make a move more than 10 years ago. It was this move that killed a great cultivator at the peak of the divine martial arts realm. Who is Marquis Baiyun fighting with? Could it be that a strong enemy has invaded the Baiyun mansion? Hiss, this is the means of the Almighty. It's really powerful. These experts who came looked at the fluctuations in the void that had not dissipated, and their faces changed drastically. These people, they were all cultivators of the Baiyun mansion. Those who had the guts to come here were all in the divine martial arts realm. In the absence of the celestial being, the divine martial arts realm was the peak. However, even such an expert was shocked when he sensed the energy fluctuations in the void that had not completely dissipated. An old man sighed and said, "If I'm not wrong, the person who is fighting with Marquis Baiyun should be Qin Shujin." Not long after the two of them left Zongyang City, a battle broke out here. As long as one was not stupid, one could guess something. Hearing that, many people's expressions changed slightly, but they soon understood. It seemed that the only person in the Baiyun mansion who could fight with Marquis Baiyun was Qin Shujin. In this way, the battle just now was not a life-and-death battle, but a simple exchange of pointers. The strength of the celestial being realm is really shocking. I don't know if I'll have the chance to step into such a mysterious realm in my lifetime. Someone sighed, then looked at a middle-aged man and said with a smile, "Elder N, I heard that your sect's supreme elder is preparing to break through to the celestial being realm. Is that true?" After that, many people's gazes also landed on Elder N. After Fang Xinglan successfully broke through to the celestial being realm, the Traceless sect also spread the news that Yin Bancheng was about to break through to the celestial being realm. For this reason, they collected all kinds of treasures to prepare for the breakthrough. If Yin Bancheng also succeeded in breaking through, then the Traceless sect would officially join the ranks of the top sections. There would also be a third celestial being realm cultivator in the Baiyun mansion. And Peng said faintly, "Whether the news of the Supreme Elder's breakthrough is true or not, we'll know in a few days. Our sect has a good relationship with the Origin sect. When the time comes, we might even invite experts from the Origin sect to attend the ceremony." He knew what these people were thinking. Yin Bancheng's breakthrough was a situation that many forces did not want to see. But Peng was not afraid. The strength of the Traceless sect was not weak, and its thousands of years of heritage was not just for show. In the Baiyun mansion, there were only a few sects that could compete with the Traceless sect. As for the others, their eyes flickered when they heard this. They could hear the warning in Peng's words. The Traceless sect had a good relationship with the Origin sect. When the time came, there might be experts from the Origin sect coming to protect them. The other party was just short of directly saying that Yin Bancheng's breakthrough was facilitated by the Origin sect. Anyone who wanted to stop Yin Bancheng's breakthrough had to consider whether it would anger the Origin sect. Looking at the expressions of the crowd, Peng also sneered in his heart. From the beginning to the end, the Traceless sect had never thought of hiding the news of Yin Bancheng's breakthrough. This was because the breakthrough of a heavenly being would cause a phenomenon of heaven and earth, so it was impossible to hide it. So, rather than hiding it and waiting for the breakthrough to be noticed, it was better to announce it openly and show the confidence of the Traceless sect, making others feel apprehensive. For this reason, the Traceless sect also used the Origin sect's tiger skin. But these things, the Traceless sect had also privately greeted the Origin sect. They dared to do so because the other party did not object. Otherwise, if they angered a top sect, the Traceless sect would be in big trouble. When the Supreme Elder breaks through to the heavenly being realm, the Traceless sect will also have such an existence. Peng looked at the raging power in the void, which seemed like it could easily tear him to pieces. The gap between the heavenly being realm and below was really too big. If a heavenly being were to make a move, killing cultivators below the heavenly being realm was just a matter of waving their hand. However, the Traceless sect would soon have such an expert. At that time, it would be the most prosperous time for the Traceless sect in thousands of years. However, Peng still had some doubts in his heart. Can the Supreme Elder really become so strong after breaking through? He was a little uncertain, but soon, Peng dispelled this thought. "Everyone, when the Supreme Elder succeeds in breaking through, I hope you will not be stingy and come to the Traceless sect for a gathering." Peng said loudly and immediately flew away. Only the other cultivators were left standing there with gloomy expressions. Peng is so arrogant. Could it be that the Traceless sect wants to invite the entire Baiyun mansion? Hee. If Yin Bancheng really succeeds in breaking through, then the Traceless sect really has the confidence to do so. Some people were dissatisfied with Peng's attitude, but others were worried. One more heavenly being would mean one more unforeseen event. The emergence of the origin sect in the Bayun mansion had already damaged the interests of many sections. If there was another top sect, the situation of the other sects would be even more difficult. This was also the reason why the other mansions had always been dominated by one top sect. This was because, although a mansion was big, it could not accommodate a second top sect. Below the top sects, there were many sects of the Major Protectorate, the Spirit Protectorate, and the True Dominion. If these sects wanted to survive, they could not do without the support of resources. Someone sighed and said, Banqing's breakthrough is unstoppable. Don't you see that the other sects of the Major Protectorate dare not speak up? What can we do? I really don't know what Qin Shujian is thinking. How foolish of him to tolerate the emergence of a top sect at this time. Elder Liu, be careful with your words. If the origin sect hears about this, that person will be unhappy. Upon hearing this, the complaining person immediately shut his mouth. Qin Shujian was famous for being petty. If the other party bore a grudge against him because of this, he would suffer a great loss. Chapter 512. Feng Xinglan's Breakthrough. It didn't affect the Fallen Moon Mansion much. Because the Celestial Array sect was a top sect, Feng Xinglan's breakthrough would only make the Celestial Array sect more powerful. It wouldn't change much. But the Traceless sect was different. Once the Traceless sect became a top sect, its power and territory would definitely expand. This would harm the interests of the other sections. No one wanted to see this happen. It was just that the Traceless sect was now backed by Yuanzong. Even if these people were unwilling, they didn't dare to challenge Yuanzong. This was the advantage of having a celestial being. As long as there was no powerhouse of the same level, they wouldn't be qualified to compete with the other party. Only a celestial being could deal with a celestial being. Now that the news of Banqing's breakthrough has spread, it has caused dissatisfaction among many sections. Are we really going to intervene? In Yuanzong, Zheng Feng asked in a deep voice. To be honest, he didn't want Yuanzong to intervene. Whether Banqing failed or not had nothing to do with Yuanzong. If Yuanzong supported the Traceless sect, the sects in Bayun Mansion wouldn't say anything, but they would definitely be dissatisfied. For Yuanzong, this wasn't a good thing. After all, although Yuanzong was strong, it wasn't to the point of completely suppressing the cultivation world in Bayun Mansion. If this caused dissatisfaction, over time, there would definitely be unrest. Qin Shujian shook his head and said, the Traceless sect can afford this price. We're just doing this for money. As for these sects' concerns about Banqing's breakthrough, to put it bluntly, they're afraid of the expansion of the Traceless sect's territory. It won't be long before the 3 continents are connected. The main battlefield of the human race won't be in the eastern continent, but in the other 3 continents. The Traceless sect won't interfere too much in the Bayun Mansion. This was one of the conditions that Yuanzong agreed to help the other party. The Traceless sect's breakthrough. They couldn't expand their territory in Bayun Mansion, but had to go to the other 3 continents. Apart from that, Qin Shujian didn't care too much about the dissatisfaction of the other sections. If they weren't strong enough, they would have to worry about what these sects thought. As long as Yuanzong was strong enough, any dissatisfaction could be suppressed. Just like the imperial court. As soon as the human sovereign appeared, it swept across the land, and all the voices of dissatisfaction disappeared. Because those who were dissatisfied had all been killed. The remaining people all submitted to the might of the Runhuang. Now, Qin Shujian hoped that he could be like the human emperor in the future. Anyone who was dissatisfied with him would be wiped out, leaving only those who had no objections. Regarding this, Qin Shujian was confident. With his life source, his cultivation speed was incomparable to others. Right now, he was only at the first tier of the heavens human realm. However, 3 to 5 years later, or even 20 to 30 years later, he would definitely not remain at his current realm. For other celestials, breaking through to the next realm in 20 to 30 years was basically an extravagant hope. However, in Qin Shujian's opinion, it was not a big problem. Zheng Feng said, in your opinion, what are the chances of Banqing breaking through? Half of it. Qin Shujian shook his head. Yin Banqing wasn't Feng Xinglan. His foundation wasn't as deep as Feng Xinglan's. The Traceless sect also lacked divine connection cultivation techniques. To have a 50% success rate was already the result of the other party's many years of accumulation. If he didn't guess wrongly, Yin Banqing's breakthrough this time was equivalent to forcefully breaking through. With his own strength and foundation, he forcefully broke through to the heavens human realm and then reverse-engineered the divine connection cultivation technique to perfect the Traceless sect's inheritance. This method was very common. However, there were more failures than successes. Originally, in Qin Shujian's opinion, if Yin Banqing wanted to break through, he should have exchanged for a divine connection cultivation technique in the Yuan Pavilion. However, it seemed that the other party couldn't wait that long. At this moment, Qin Shujian said, "How far has the recruitment of disciples progressed? Many people have already come to Liangshan City. In the future, there will be more people coming. Don't you think Liangshan City is a little too small?" Qin Shujian suddenly asked. Zheng Fang's expression froze. Small? He really hadn't thought about this before. Compared to the cities of other top sects, Liangshan City wasn't considered small. Of course, it wasn't big either. At most, it was of medium level. After all, Liangshan City wasn't big. When Liangshan City was first built, it was built with Liangshan City and the chaotic stone forest as the foundation. Thinking of this, Zheng Fang said hesitantly, "Although Liangshan City isn't the top city among the sects, it's not small either. It's not bad. If you want to do something, you should do it to the best of your ability. Our sect's current strength is already in the top 3. However, our sect's city is a little small." After saying this, Qin Shujian pondered for a moment. "It seems that we need to find an opportunity to expand Liangshan City." Expand? Zheng Fang frowned and said, "Now that Liangshan City's foundation has been laid, if we want to expand, many places will have to be rebuilt. The resources we need to consume won't be small." "Great Elder, have you forgotten that Liangshan City isn't as simple as a city? Sect Master, what do you plan to do?" If Liangshan City becomes a Dao artifact in the future, expanding it will be just a matter of words, Qin Shujian said with a faint smile. The current Liangshan City was a spiritual artifact. If they wanted to expand it, they would need to tear down more than half of the city. Tearing down a city was easy. However, tearing down a spiritual artifact wasn't an easy thing to do. If Liangshan City could be upgraded to a Dao artifact, then the problem of expanding Liangshan City would be solved. The power of a spiritual artifact was limited. Once it was upgraded to a Dao artifact, enlarging or shrinking it would be just a basic operation. This was also the reason why Heaven Realm cultivators would either use Dao artifacts or fight with their bare hands. A Heaven Realm cultivator's body could change its size. Of course, it wouldn't be a problem for a normal person to use a weapon. However, if it was enlarged, then it would be useless. Only a Dao artifact that could change according to the body could allow a Heaven Realm cultivator to display their true strength. When Zheng Fang heard this, he was also shocked by Qin Shujian's idea. Sect Master wants to upgrade Liangshan City into a Dao artifact? Upgrading a Dao artifact. If this news were to spread, it would be even more shocking than when Qin Shujian was upgrading the Dustless Immortal Robe. After all, from ancient times until now, no one had ever managed to upgrade a city into a Dao artifact. It wasn't that he didn't want to. It was that he couldn't do it. Even a Grandmaster Blacksmith didn't have the confidence to upgrade a city into a Dao artifact. Qin Shujian said, "Why not? If I can forge a Dao artifact, I can forge a second one. It's not a big problem." After his array Dao entered the second stage of the Grandmaster realm, his forging Dao had also changed. When it came to forging methods, Qin Shujian was confident that even if he claimed to be second in the human race, there might not be anyone who could claim to be first. However, if possible, Qin Shujian would rather use his luck points to upgrade it. However, it was simply unrealistic to think about it. If he used his luck points to upgrade other Dao artifacts, he could still deceive others. However, if he directly upgraded Liangshan City, then even a fool would know that there was something wrong with him. Before fighting with Marquis Baiyun, Qin Shujian was still a little confident in his own strength. However, after fighting with the other party, he realized that his strength was still lacking. If he wanted to be fearless, at the very least, he had to be able to suppress a mighty figure. Before that, it was better to keep a low profile. He would honestly use normal methods to forge a Tao artifact. While increasing his prestige, it would also increase his status in the human race. A powerful Grandmaster blacksmith. It was a scarce resource everywhere. Zheng Feng didn't know what to say. To be honest, he was also a little helpless about Qin Shujian's confidence. Was it really that simple to forge a Tao artifact, or a city into a Tao artifact? Although he hadn't come into contact with the Tao of forging, he also understood how difficult it was to achieve this step. If Sect Master builds Liangshan City, it will cause a big commotion. At that time, all parties will definitely send people to observe. The meaning of Zheng Feng's words was already very obvious. If the forging failed, then it would be a disgrace to the entire cultivation world. He felt that he had to stop it. Qin Shujian smiled and said, "Great Elder, don't worry. Don't worry about me doing things. I will never do things that I am not confident in." His words were filled with strong confidence. "Fine. Since Sect Master has already made his decision, I won't stop him. However, when does Sect Master plan to start?" Zheng Feng sighed and asked seriously. Qin Shujian said, "If you want to forge a Tao artifact, you have to have a Khanate embryo. Khanate spiritual items should be born in the new district soon. It has been less than 2 years since the last exploration. It's about time." Qin Shujian looked into the distance. It was the new district close to the Liangshan spirit domain. In his senses, there were several dense auras that were being nurtured in the new area. Those auras, Qin Shujian was very familiar with them. They were characteristics unique to Khanate spiritual items. In a newly born area, innate spirit items would be born one after another within a few years after the birth of the area. As time passed, the chaotic heaven-earth law would become stable. When the heaven-earth law reached the mortal domain level, it would slowly absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth to increase the upper limit of the district. Then, it would slowly reach the true domain level and merge with the Liangshan spirit domain. If he wanted to forge a city into a Tao artifact, it was obviously impossible to rely on 1 or 2 Khanate embryos. Qin Shujian secretly estimated that he would need at least 3 Khanate spiritual items in order to forge the Liangshan city into a Tao artifact. It would be best to forge the Liangshan city into a Tao artifact before the 3 continents are connected. In the end, Qin Shujian had an additional thought. However, when the Tao artifact would be forged depended on when the Khanate embryos were born. Based on his senses, the Khanate spiritual items would be born in about half a year to 2 years. As for the exact time, Qin Shujian wasn't sure. The faster the Khanate spiritual items were born, the faster they would be forged. However, if the Khanate spiritual items were born slowly, there was nothing he could do. After instructing Zheng Feng to pay close attention to the new district, Qin Shujian stood up and left. Inside the forbidden area, he took out all the remaining spirit stones. There were a total of 700 spirit stones. He originally had more than 1,400 spirit stones. First, he used 365 spirit stones. Now, he was still in the recovery stage. Then, he built the spatial mystic realm and placed another 365 spirit stones inside. At the moment, he only had about 700 spirit stones that he could use. Originally, Qin Shujian planned to keep these spirit stones and think of ways to use them for other things. Or, if he encountered a strong enemy in the future, he could use them to save his life. However, after sparring with Marquis Bayun, he had completely extinguished this idea. What's the use of keeping these spirit stones? If I don't improve my strength, no matter how many spirit stones I have, they won't be enough for me to save my life. Instead of wasting them in the future, I might as well convert them into my own strength. This way, even if I encounter an almighty in the future, I will have more confidence to escape. Yes, escape. Qin Shujian had no intention of fighting with an almighty at the moment. If he encountered one, he would just escape. As long as he could escape, it wouldn't be a problem. 700 spirit stones were embedded in the array formation, and a vast amount of spirit chi immediately swarmed over. Qin Shujian soaked in the spirit chi and prepared to circulate the Guiyuan ancestral cannon to absorb the power and then break through the acupoints in his body. After breaking through to the heavenly being realm, the treasures of the human body had been completely opened. Qin Shujian didn't know how many acupoints there were in the human body. According to other records, there were at most 365 acupoints in the human body, which was the number of Zhou Tian. However, when Qin Shujian transformed into the divine general of the heavenly courts, he saw that more than 10,000 acupoints had been opened in his body. It could be seen that the number of acupoints in the human body was definitely not that simple. Even though he had now obtained all the contents of the divine chapter of the Guiyuan ancestral canon and understood that the great perfection of the divine chapter was to cultivate 129,600 star acupoints, Qin Shujian wasn't sure. 129,600 star acupoints was really the limit of the human body. The human body is the greatest treasure and also the greatest reliance of a cultivator. If the human body can be developed to the limit, I'm afraid there will be no opponents, Qin Shujian thought to himself. He wasn't sure how powerful the great perfection of the Guiyuan ancestral canon was. However, just by looking at the 129,600 acupoints, he could guess that if he really reached that step, he would probably be able to suppress an almighty with a punch and a kick. After all, although an almighty was powerful, they definitely hadn't reached that level. When he fought with Marquis Baiyun, Qin Shujian discovered that his strength might not be as strong as when he had opened 10,800 star acupoints. However, in Qin Shujian's opinion, Marquis Baiyun was hiding his strength. If he really used his full strength, it would be hard to say who was stronger between him and Marquis Baiyun. However, to open 129,600 star acupoints, if it was an ordinary person, I'm afraid that they wouldn't be able to cultivate until the day they die. With more than 300 spirit stones, he could only open 30 acupoints at a time. How many resources would it take to cultivate to the great perfection? If he didn't rely on spirit stones to cultivate, it was still unknown whether he could open 1/10 of the star acupoints when his lifespan was exhausted. Qin Shujian murmured to himself, if the origin sect uses the Guiyuan ancestral canon as an inheritance, then it will be destroyed sooner or later if this continues. For ordinary people, it was basically impossible to cultivate such a cultivation method to the great perfection. In other words, if one used the Guiyuan ancestral canon as an inheritance, the early stage of the celestial being realm was already the limit. It could be said that it was an extravagant hope to cultivate to the saint realm, almighty, or even the limit of the celestial being realm. As for breaking through to the celestial being realm, that was even more of a joke. Even Qin Shujian himself, if he didn't rely on the source of life, he didn't have the confidence to cultivate this cultivation method. Just what kind of sick skill did I manage to fuse with? If I were to continue fusing with it, would it become even stronger? At this moment, Qin Shujian also had the idea of integrating the cultivation method again. Soon, this idea was forcefully dismissed by him. What kind of joke was this? What if he integrated the Red Lotus of Purgation and lost it? Moreover, the current Guiyuan ancestral canon was already difficult enough to cultivate. If he continued to integrate it and use this cultivation method as the inheritance of the origin sect, it would really cause the destruction of the origin sect. Sometimes, it wasn't a good thing to have a cultivation method that was too strong, because the stronger the cultivation method, the more difficult it was to cultivate. If something went wrong, the inheritance might be broken. Qin Shujian didn't think too much about this issue. It was impossible to integrate the cultivation method. Now, he could only work hard to cultivate when he didn't have enough source of life, and open a few acupoints to increase his strength. With this thought in mind, he abandoned the distracting thoughts in his heart and then entered a state of cultivation. As the cultivation method operated, every time Qin Shujian breathed, it would cause the 396 acupoints in his body to vibrate. A huge amount of heaven and earth spirit chi crazily poured into his body as he breathed. Rumble. The star river flowed and constantly impacted the acupoints. This time, Qin Shujian entered seclusion and didn't come out as soon as he did before. In a flash, 7 days passed. During the period when Qin Shujian was in seclusion, the Baiyun mansion was also not peaceful. As the Traceless sect continued to collect all kinds of resources and treasures, the news of Yin Banqing's breakthrough also spread to an extremely powerful level. It wasn't just the Baiyun mansion. Even the other manors also focused their attention on the Traceless sect. For the cultivation world, the addition of a celestial being would not only affect the Baiyun mansion, but also the entire cultivation world. For the other manors and sects, they also didn't want the Baiyun mansion to have another celestial being. This was because once the Baiyun mansion had another celestial being, the other manors would have to bear a lot of pressure. They also had to consider how to deal with it if the Baiyun mansion's cultivation world reached out. However, the Origin sect released the news that they publicly supported the Traceless sect. If the other sects wanted to attack the Traceless sect, they would have to consider whether they could bear the anger of the Origin sect. The Heavenly Corpse sect had been destroyed by the Origin sect long ago. At that time, the Origin sect didn't have a celestial being. But now, the Origin sect had two celestial beings, and its strength was not what it used to be. Such strength, it could already be said to be shocking. Some of the old top sects had to seriously consider in the face of such strength. It was also at this moment, the Heavenly Array sect of the Fallen Moon Mansion also released the news that they would support Yin Banqing's breakthrough. Because of this, it caused quite a commotion. The Heavenly Array sect was an old force. Although it had never had a celestial being as the #1 array sect in the cultivation world, it also had the combat strength of a celestial being. Now, Feng Xinglan had broken the shackles and become a celestial being in one fell swoop. The power of the Heavenly Array sect could be said to be at its peak. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for others to ignore the existence of the Heavenly Array sect. Regarding this, the other sects couldn't help but wonder if the three sects had reached some kind of alliance agreement. But that was just a thought. With the support of the two top sects, no one dared to attack the Traceless sect. Those who weren't strong enough didn't dare to. Those who were strong enough didn't think it was worth it. Especially when there was a powerful existence like Qin Shujian, who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Not many people wanted to provoke him. The reputation of the Origin sect, it was established on the basis of the destruction of a large number of sects. Such a fierce reputation was enough to deter many people. Northern Spirit Region. The Traceless sect. At this moment, the Traceless sect was under martial law. All the disciples temporarily stopped going out to perform missions and training, and were waiting in the mountain gate to prepare for war. Sect Master, how confident are the Supreme Elders' breakthrough? In the main hall of the sect, an elder of the Traceless sect asked worriedly. Now that Yin Banqing had broken through, the Traceless sect had become the focus of everyone's attention. If the breakthrough was successful, it would be fine. But if the breakthrough failed, the sect would lack a peak divine martial realm expert to take charge. This would be a huge blow to the Traceless sect. On the main seat, an elegant middle-aged man shook his head. The Supreme Elder chose to break through. Naturally, he is confident. It's meaningless to guess so much now. Just wait for the result with peace of mind. As the sect master, Jing Bianyun was actually a little flustered. It was just that others could panic, but he couldn't. Once the sect master panicked, the entire sect would definitely fall into chaos. And Peng looked at the elder and said unhappily, "Elderly, what's there to worry about? The Supreme Elder dared to break through, so he must be confident of success. Now that he's panicking, wouldn't it be a joke to others?" Yes, the Supreme Elder will definitely succeed this time. Su Yuan nodded and said, he would definitely succeed. He had to succeed. This time, whether or not the Traceless sect could rise and reach unprecedented heights depended on Yin Banqing's success. If the Supreme Elder failed to break through, the strength of the Traceless sect would be greatly reduced. At that time, the Sky Origin sect and the Sky Array sect would no longer care about the Traceless sect, because these two sects were willing to support the Traceless sect. To put it bluntly, it was on the premise that Yin Banqing might break through to the diviner realm. Once Yin Banqing failed to break through, the Traceless sect wouldn't have the capital to cooperate with these two sects. Not to mention, this time, in order to let Yin Banqing break through, the Traceless sect almost emptied out. This was the tragedy of ordinary sects. The price to pay for the birth of a diviner realm expert was too great. Jing Bianyun said in a deep voice, "Now, pay close attention to the movements of the other sections. We can't let them disturb the Supreme Elder's breakthrough. The sects should behave themselves. Anyone who dares to cause trouble at this time will be severely punished." "Don't worry, Sect Master. We know what to do. That's for the best." Jing Bianyun nodded. It was also at this moment that a vast aura spread out, causing everyone's expression to change. Chapter 5:13. The Divine Martial Breakthrough. A vision of heaven and earth appeared. Just when everyone's attention was on the Traceless sect, a voice suddenly rang out. A vast aura erupted from the Traceless sect, shaking the sky and causing it to change color. Banshing has begun to break through, a vision of heaven and earth. The experts from all sides were shocked. An expert from a large region said in a deep voice, "Once he enters the breakthrough stage, there is no way to stop halfway. If we want to make a move, now is the best time." The Traceless sect only has 2 great cultivators at the peak of the divine martial realm. Now that Banshing has entered the breakthrough stage, only Jing Bianyun is left. He may not be able to compete with us. There were also experts with fierce eyes. Banshing was breaking through to the divine martial realm. If they wanted to stop him, this was their last chance. Once Banshing succeeded in breaking through, there would be no other way. For a moment, many people fell into deep thought. Especially the sects in the Bayun Mansion, they were even more conflicted. The emergence of the first top sect was a good thing. At least the cultivation world of the Bayun Mansion had the capital to contend with the cultivation world of the other mansions. But if there was a second top sect, many people's interests would be damaged. "Sect Master, should we make a move?"
In the giant spirit sect, an elder looked solemn.
"Let's wait and see." The one who spoke was a burly, middle-aged man with a dignified face. He was the current giant spirit child of the giant spirit sect, and also the current sect master. The elder of the giant spirit sect said, "If we wait any longer and Banshing succeeds in breaking through, our giant spirit sect will be in trouble." They were both sects in the Bayun Mansion. The giant spirit sect and the Traceless sect had always had a lot of friction. The previous giant spirit child died because of the Traceless sect. This kind of hatred was difficult to resolve. If the giant spirit sect was given a chance, they would definitely destroy the Traceless sect. Similarly, if the Traceless sect had a chance, they would not let the giant spirit sect go. Now that Banshing had broken through, it was a huge nightmare for the giant spirit sect. Giant Spirit Child said with a gloomy face, "The Celestial Array sect and the Origin sect are now openly supporting the Traceless sect. If our sect makes a move, it is undoubtedly equivalent to offending the 2 top sections. The Celestial Array sect is fine, but the Origin sect is not to be trifled with." Although the Heavenly Array sect was a top sect, it was far away in the Fallen Moon Mansion. Even if they were offended, it would not be easy for the other party to make a move on the Giant Spirit sect. After all, if a top sect from a prefecture were to meddle in another prefecture, it would easily lead to a backlash from the entire cultivation world. However, Yuanzhong was different. The Sky Origin sect was born and raised in the North Cloud Mansion. If they offended the Heavenly Array sect, the Giant Spirit sect still had room to maneuver. However, if they offended the Origin sect, it would be hard to say. The Great Spirit sect elder disagreed and said in a deep voice, "Even if we don't offend the 2 sects, does Sect Master think that Banshing will let our Great Spirit sect go after breaking through to the Celestial Being realm? We'll die if we attack, and we'll die if we don't. At worst, we'll just fight. Anyway, my sect has a grudge with the Traceless sect. This is a grudge between the 2 sections. Sky Origin sect has no reason to intervene." "You're discussing reasons with Yuanzhong?" Zhu Lingzi sneered, shook his head, and said, "Qin Shujian has been famous in the cultivation world for so many years. Have you ever seen him do things for a reason? As long as there is a reason, he can directly take action. Are we just going to watch Banshing break through? Is there any news from the Crimson Heaven sect and the Yinyang sect?" Zhu Lingzi tilted his head and asked. The Great Spirit sect elder was startled, But he quickly recovered and said, "There's no news from the Crimson Heavens sect yet. However, the Yin-Yang sect is willing to help, but the price is a bit high." "What price?" 20 spirit stones. 20 spirit stones. They really dare to ask for it. Zhu Lingzi sneered. For the Great Spirit sect, 20 spirit stones occupied 1/5 of their resources. However, after sneering, Zhu Lingzi said, "Tell the Yin-Yang sect that if they can make Yin Banqing fail to break through, the Great Spirit sect will give them 20 spirit stones. If they can kill Yin Banqing, the Great Spirit sect will give them an additional 10 spirit stones." "Sect Master, isn't this price too high?" The elder frowned deeply. 30 spirit stones. This was a big price. Zhu Lingzi said, "If Yin Banqing succeeds in breaking through, our Great Spirit sect will lose more than just a few spirit stones. Also, send a message to the Crimson Heaven sect." "Okay." The elder immediately picked up the communication jade talisman. Zhu Lingzi stood at the peak of the Great Spirit sect, looking at the various phenomena that constantly emerged in front of him. His expression was as calm as ever, but there was killing intent brewing in his eyes. With Yuan Zong here, the Great Spirit sect couldn't directly attack the Traceless sect. Unless he was prepared to move the entire Great Spirit sect, Yuan Zong couldn't offend them openly. However, if the Great Spirit sect couldn't attack, then he would find another sect that could. The Crimson Heaven sect and the Yin-Yang sect both came from the Whiteyong Prefecture. Even if they destroyed the Traceless sect, Yuan Zong couldn't directly attack the Whiteyong Prefecture in anger, because inside the Whiteyong Prefecture, there was also a top sect guarding it. Zhu Lingzi believed that Yuan Zong wouldn't be so reckless to offend a top sect for a Yin Banqing who had failed to break through. As long as the Traceless sect fails to break through, then there won't be any problems. But once the breakthrough is successful, then all our efforts will be in vain. Zhu Lingzi looked in the direction of the Traceless sect, and his expression became solemn. The other sects hesitated. He couldn't hesitate. Yin Banqing must not succeed in breaking through, even if the Great Spirit sect had to pay a huge price for it. Subsequently, Zhu Lingzi took out another communication jade talisman and sent out several messages. Traceless sect. Ever since Yin Banqing entered the breakthrough stage and the celestial phenomenon covered the sect, the entire Traceless sect entered an absolute state of martial law. Jing Bianyun's expression was solemn as he said, "Send disciples to pay close attention to the movements of the other sects, especially the Great Spirit sect. With the death of the previous Zhu Lingzi, the Great Spirit sect will definitely not sit back and watch the Supreme Elder succeed in breaking through." With Yuan Zong and Celestial Array sect stepping in, would the Great Spirit sect still dare to take action? Su Yuan disagreed. If the Great Spirit sect dared to take action at this time, they would be digging their own grave. He couldn't wait for the Great Spirit sect to take action. At that time, he could invite the experts of the two sects to uproot the entire Great Spirit sect. Top sections. They valued face the most. If the Great Spirit sect took action, it would be publicly slapping the faces of the two sections. How could the two sects sit back and watch? Jing Bianyun said, "Don't put all your hopes on others. If we really ask the two sects to take action, we will also have to pay a huge price. Which force that can become a top sect is easy to deal with. Since Yuan Zong became famous, dozens of sects and forces have been destroyed in their hands. This time, in exchange for the resources for the Supreme Elder's breakthrough, our sect has already paid too much. If we ask the two sects to take action, our sect's foundation will be completely emptied." He wouldn't be so naive to think that, with the support of the two sects, Yin Banqing would be able to break through smoothly. There were too many things involved in this. Jing Bianyun said, "Zhu Lingzi also knows that if the Supreme Elder succeeds in breaking through, our sect will definitely settle our grudges with the Great Spirit sect. The Great Spirit sect isn't weak, but they can't resist a celestial being. In this way, the Great Spirit sect may be driven to desperation." What Sect Master said is right. And Peng nodded and said with a solemn expression, "Our sect has enmity with the Great Spirit sect, and the other sects won't want to see the birth of a celestial being. I'm afraid that the Great Spirit sect will have a way to get the other sects to take action together. At that time, It will be the most troublesome time. When the other elders heard this, the smiles on their faces also disappeared. Driven to desperation, this possibility was very high. If the Great Spirit sect was really driven crazy, they might drag the Traceless sect down with them. If they were the Great Spirit sect, knowing that their sect would be destroyed if Banshing succeeded in breaking through, they would definitely fight to the death in advance. Su Yuan said, "What's your plan now, Sect Master?" "Send a message to Yuanzong. If possible, invite several experts of the God Martial Arts realm to come over. It would be best if we can invite Sect Master Qin. In addition, spread the news that if our Supreme Elder succeeds in breaking through, we will not touch the resources of the other sections. This will appease the people and avoid causing too much agitation." Jing Bianyun said calmly. The most important thing at the moment was to find someone to take charge. The other sects were afraid that Banshing would break through. To put it simply, they were worried that the Traceless sect would encroach on their resources after being promoted to a top sect. Giving a promise in advance could also be considered as stabilizing the other sections. Speaking of this, Jing Bianyun looked at Su Yuan and said in a deep voice, "Let Elder Su contact Yuanzong. In our sect, besides the Supreme Elder, you are the one who has the most contact with Yuanzong. If others come forward, there might be some problems." "Sect Master, don't worry. Leave this matter to me." Su Yuan nodded. He was familiar with Yuanzong. No matter what, he had been there twice. The last time he went there with Banshing, he also met Qin Shujian. Speaking of which, he was also someone who had been personally received by a celestial being. This matter. When Su Yuan returned to the Traceless sect, he even bragged for a while. After Su Yuan left, Jing Bianyun looked at the other elders with a solemn expression. "Elders, the success or failure of our sect depends on this. As long as the Supreme Elder succeeds in breaking through, you and I will leave a deep mark in the history of the Traceless sect. But if it fails, everyone present may be the sinners of the Traceless sect." This sentence sounded serious, but in fact it was the truth. If Banshing succeeded in breaking through, the Traceless sect would usher in unprecedented glory. If Banshing failed in breaking through, the Traceless sect would definitely decline because of this. Whether or not they could keep their current status was a problem. Therefore, the breakthrough this time. It was not only a tribulation for Banshing, but also a tribulation for the entire Traceless sect. It was also a tribulation for the sect master and elders, Tiangang's sect. In a courtyard, a middle-aged man and an old man were sitting opposite each other. The middle-aged man was the sect master of Tiangang's sect, Xiang Hongfei. "Giant Spirit sent a message, hoping that we can work together to deal with Banshing. In Supreme Elder's opinion, should we agree?" Xiang Hongfei looked indifferent and said with a chuckle. Hearing this, the Supreme Elder said calmly, "Sect Master already has an idea in his heart. Why ask this old man?" Supreme Elder is the pillar of our sect. Although Hongfei is the sect master of Tianning sect, there are still some things that need to be discussed with Supreme Elder. Banshing has no ambition, but Jing Bianyun is not the same. Once Banshing succeeds in breaking through, it will be difficult for our sect to stay out of it. The Supreme Elder sighed and said. Xiang Hongfei said, "Then in Supreme Elder's opinion, should we agree with the Giant Spirit sect's proposal? From our point of view, this matter should be agreed. But from the point of view of the entire Tiangang sect, the sect master needs to think twice before acting." The great Supreme Elder stroked his beard and said in a deep voice, "The Traceless sect is not a problem, but the origin sect behind the Traceless sect is the key. As for the Heavenly Array sect, they are just giving face to the origin sect, which is why they voice their support. But if we really want to send experts to help, the probability of the Celestial Array sect is not high. On the contrary, the probability of the origin sect is high." Origin sect. Xiang Hongfei furrowed his brows for a moment before relaxing them. He couldn't help but laugh. Speaking of which, Qin Shujian is really a troublemaker. Ever since he appeared, the cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion has never been peaceful. In his opinion, Qin Shujian was the troublemaker of the entire cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion. Or rather, the entire origin sect was like this. Before the appearance of Origin Sect, the cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion had never experienced so many twists and turns. Xiang Hongfei said, "We can wait, but the giant spirit sect can't. If I'm not wrong, the giant spirit sect won't appear in person this time. After all, they have to leave a way out for themselves. So I suggest that we should agree to giant spirit sect's proposal and see what other tricks they have. Since the sect master has thought it through, then it's fine," Supreme Elder said calmly. Since Yin Banqing entered the state of breaking through, the situation in the entire Baiyun Mansion had become tense. Many people wanted to stop Yin Banqing's breakthrough, but they were afraid of Origin Sect. In this kind of entangled state of mind, time passed little by little. Rumble. In the void, a green lotus took root. The lotus bloomed and swayed, making people feel relaxed and happy. "It's the second day," Giant Spirit Sect murmured softly. His hands behind his back involuntarily clenched. On the first day, the sun rose in the sky and drove away the jade rabbit. On the second day, a green lotus was planted in the blue sky and covered the sky. According to the normal situation of a breakthrough, the phenomenon would generally last for about 5 to 7 days. In other words, now, Yin Banqing was about to break through halfway. Moreover, the phenomenon did not collapse, which meant that he had not failed to break through. Compared to dealing with the Traceless Sect, Giant Spirit Sect hoped that Yin Banqing would fail to break through. In this way, many things would become simpler. And if Yin Banqing failed to break through, he would not attract the attention of Origin Sect. And this time, the Traceless Sect had paid a great price for Yin Banqing's breakthrough. Once the other party failed to break through, the Traceless Sect would be weakened. At that time, they would be at the mercy of the Giant Spirit Sect. At this moment, the elder of the Giant Spirit Sect stepped forward and said respectfully, "Sect Master, the Yin Yang Sect and the Crimson Heaven Sect have both agreed, but they have to get the Spirit Stones first before they are willing to help. Tell them that the Giant Spirit Sect can give 10 Spirit Stones as a deposit first, and the rest will be given later." "Sect Master, the two sects may not agree." "Don't worry, they will agree." Giant Spirit Sect waved his hand. Yin Banqing's breakthrough. It was not just related to the Baiyun Mansion. Just as the elder was about to leave, Giant Spirit Sect added, "Remember to keep this matter a secret. Except for you and me, no one in the Giant Spirit Sect can know about it." "Sect Master, are you worried about a traitor?" "There's nothing wrong with being careful." Giant Spirit Sect shook his head and said, "It didn't matter whether there was a traitor or not. The important thing was that the Giant Spirit Sect had contacted the two sects to help. At least, they couldn't let Origin Sect get a hold of it. In this case, even if Origin Sect had some suspicions, they couldn't do anything to the Giant Spirit Sect without any evidence." Moreover, Giant Spirit Sect muttered to himself, "The Crimson Heaven Sect and the Yin Yang Sect don't want to see another top sect in the Baiyun Mansion." His lips curled into a cold smile. Origin Sect's deterrence was great. However, as long as the Giant Spirit Sect paid a sufficient price, they could attract others to help. In the cultivation world, benefits would always be placed at the top. On the other side, Su Yuan had just arrived at the Cold Mountain Spirit Domain. He came to the Cold Mountain City again. As soon as he walked out of the teleportation gate, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. When did the Cold Mountain City become so crowded? Su Yuan revealed a stunned expression as he looked at the scene of people coming and going. It had already reached the point of being crowded. The last time he came, although there were many people in the Cold Mountain City, it wasn't to this extent. When a cultivator passing by saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. "Brother, you still don't know, right? It's not long before the Origin Sect opens its mountain gate. Therefore, people from all over the world are constantly rushing over in order to not miss the opportunity to join the Origin Sect." "Thank you for your explanation." Su Yuan understood and at the same time, cupped his hands and thanked him. No wonder. Now that there were so many people in the Cold Mountain City, it made sense. In fact, the Traceless Sect also knew that the Origin Sect was about to recruit disciples. However, during this period of time, they were busy with Yin Banqing's breakthrough and had forgotten about it. Now, After being reminded by other cultivators, Su Yuan finally reacted, walking in the cold mountain city. At this time, Su Yuan was also secretly shocked. In his perception, there were already no less than 10 or 20 auras that were not weaker than his. There are still a few months before the mountain gate opens, but there are already so many God Martial Realm cultivators here. When the day comes, won't there be hundreds of God Martial Realm cultivators here? Su Yuan's understanding of the origin sect's influence was once again refreshed. Hundreds of God Martial Realm cultivators, even the entire Baiyun mansion might not be able to gather so many. However, he also knew that these people were not here to join the origin sect, but to escort their juniors. Su Yuan thought to himself, when will my sect be so powerful? The news of recruiting disciples could attract experts from all over the world. For so many years, the Traceless sect had never received such a treatment. However, in Su Yuan's opinion, as long as Embark successfully broke through, the Traceless sect would also reach this step sooner or later. With a celestial being in charge, it was completely different from not having a celestial being in charge. In addition to being shocked by the origin sect's influence, Su Yuan was also jealous of the origin sect's income. There were so many people in the cold mountain city now, and all of them were famous figures. Not every one of them was rich, but more than 90% of them were the kind that did not lack money. After a few months, the origin sect had probably made a lot of money. After taking a deep look at the cold mountain city, Su Yuan directly headed towards the cold mountain. The most important thing now was to complete Jing Bianyun's instructions. Everything else, they all leaned back a little. In the martial inheritance hall, Su Yuan cupped his hands and said, Elder Zheng, I'm afraid I'll have to disturb you again this time. Elder Su is too polite. May I know why you're here this time? Zheng Fang smiled slightly. Qin Shujian was in seclusion. If someone came to visit, he would naturally receive them if they were of high status. If their status was ordinary, there was no need for him, the Grand Elder, to make a move. Obviously, as an elder of the Traceless sect, Su Yuan's status was relatively important. If Embark successfully broke through, the other party's status would not be much lower than his. Su Yuan went straight to the point and said, Our sect's Grand Elder is breaking through to the celestial being realm this time. Now that the Traceless sect is surrounded by wolves, I'm afraid something unpleasant will happen in the next few days. Elder Su, are you worried that someone will attack the Traceless sect? That's right. Our sect has already stepped forward. There are not many sects in the Baiyun mansion that dare to disobey. Zheng Fang chuckled and said unhurriedly, Don't you think your sect is a little worried? It's better to be safe than sorry. Su Yuan shook his head and said, I don't mean to question the origin sect, but many sects are now unwilling to see the birth of a celestial being in our Traceless sect. Although we have the support of the sect's Grand Elder, there may be other sects that are desperate enough to interfere with the Grand Elder's breakthrough. If it's one or two sects, it's fine. But if there are too many sects, the Traceless sect can't do anything. Zheng Fang asked, What do you want, Elder Su? I hope that you can invite a few great cultivators in the God Martial Realm from your sect to guard the Traceless sect. It'll be best if nothing happens. If someone attacks, they can resist it. Of course, our sect will also give a corresponding reward. In the end, Su Yuan added one more sentence. He knew, no matter how much he said, it was better to be practical. It was the easiest to deal with such a sect, but it was also the most costly. If it weren't for the fact that there was no other way, Jing Bianyun would not be willing to let the origin sect take action. Hearing this, Zheng Fang fell into silence. After a while, he said, Our sect can send at most 3 experts in the God Martial Realm, 2 in the middle stage, and 1 in the late stage. That's enough. Su Yuan breathed a sigh of relief and then smiled. 2 in the middle stage, and 1 in the late stage of the God Martial Realm. This strength was enough. If the origin sect sent out 3 experts at the peak of the God Martial Realm, the Traceless sect might not be able to afford it. Of course, in Su Yuan's opinion, the origin sect could not send out 3 experts at the peak of the God Martial Realm. In fact, the fact that the origin sect could send out 2 in the middle stage and 1 in the late stage was already beyond Su Yuan's expectations. Just as Su Yuan was smiling, Zheng Fang said lightly, 2 in the middle stage of the God Martial Realm will be 1 spirit stone each time. 1 in the late stage of the God Martial Realm will also be 1 spirit stone. 2 spirit stones in total will be enough. Immediately, Su Yuan's smile stiffened. Chapter 5:14. Spirit Stones. Spirit Stones again. Su Yuan wanted to pry open the skulls of everyone in Yuan's sect and take a good look to see if their heads were filled with spirit stones. Otherwise, why would everyone ask for spirit stones? Did they really think that spirit stones could be found everywhere? Although he was cursing in his heart, Su Yuan still accepted his fate. He nodded and said, "After this matter, I will definitely give you the 2 spirit stones. No problem." This old man still trusts the reputation of the Traceless sect. Zhang Fang nodded and said, it was a good deal to earn 2 spirit stones every time he made a move. Moreover, they might not even fight. If it was just a formality, Traceless sect would not have the courage to go back on their word. After the matter was settled, Su Yuan immediately left Yuan's sect and rushed to Traceless sect. The difference was, when Su Yuan came, he was alone. But when he left, there were 3 people. One of them was the Formation Hall Master, Xiang Haogan. He was a cultivator at the middle stage of the God Martial Realm. In addition to Xiang Haogan, there was another guest at the middle stage of the God Martial Realm who followed him. As for the cultivator at the late stage of the God Martial Realm, it was Gong Mingzi. This old man who escorted Ningbo to the Liang Mountain Spirit Domain chose to join Yuan's sect in the end. Qin Shujian and Ningbo played a part in this. But no matter what, Gong Mingzi's joining also allowed Yuan's sect to have its first cultivator at the late stage of the God Martial Realm. Elder Gong, where did you cultivate in the past? I'm a little blind and didn't recognize you for a while. Looking at Gong Mingzi, Su Yuan asked politely. A cultivator at the late stage of the God Martial Realm. It was impossible for him to be unknown in the entire cultivation world. But Su Yuan really didn't know Gong Mingzi. Which cultivator in the world who could cultivate to this level wasn't famous? Gong Mingzi smiled faintly and said, I used to be a rogue cultivator in the mountains and wasn't famous. It's normal that Elder Su hasn't heard of me. Elder Gong is too modest. On the 3rd day, the green lotus retreated and the stars hung in the sky. As Banqing's breakthrough got closer and closer, the situation in Baiyun Mansion became more and more tense. Giant Lingzi's eyes were shining as he said, it's already the 3rd day. If it's fast, Banqing should be able to break through in another 2 days. The longer the phenomenon lasted, the higher the probability of a successful breakthrough. If the success rate for the first 2 days was only 50%, then on the 3rd day, when the phenomenon appeared, the success rate increased to 70%. On the 4th day, it would be 90%. Once it reached the 5th day, the success rate would approach 100%. Therefore, now that the 3rd day had arrived, Zhu Lingzi no longer hoped that Banqing would fail in his breakthrough. Sect Leader, should we make a move? The Great Spirit Sect Elder standing behind Zhu Lingzi also had an abnormally solemn expression. Everything that needed to be prepared had already been prepared. The rest. There was only one last step left. Giant Spirit said softly, inform the Dark Spirit Guards to cut off the Traceless sect's eyes and ears. Then inform the Crimson Heaven sect and the Yin Yang sect to prepare to attack the Traceless sect and prevent Banqing from breaking through. All right, remember, the Dark Spiritual Guards will only eliminate the eyes and ears of the Traceless sect. Don't do anything else. Zhu Lingzi exhorted. As long as they didn't directly attack the Traceless sect, it wouldn't be considered as interfering with Banqing's breakthrough. Even if the Sky Origin sect wanted to pursue the matter, Zhu Lingzi had a way to escape. The elder said, I know what to do. Go. Yes. This simple conversation was destined to set off a bloody storm in the Baiyun Mansion. The Dark Spiritual Guards. They were the men of sacrifice cultivated by the Great Spirit sect for generations. They were similar to assassins. The strength of the Dark Spiritual Guards wasn't weak. For many years, the Great Spirit sect wanted to eliminate some opponents. When it was inconvenient to do so, they would let the Dark Spiritual Guards do it. In a city, A shop selling sundries opened as usual. Many people came and went, making the business in the shop quite prosperous. When night fell, the flow of customers decreased a lot. When it was almost late at night, the shop officially closed. Several servants were moving things, preparing to close the door. At this moment, several cold lights cut through the night sky, splashing a lot of blood. As several people fell to the ground, someone in the shop suddenly shouted, "Sneak attack!" Swish, swish. As soon as the voice fell, a dozen people appeared from inside. They drew out all kinds of weapons, and several auras that were not weaker than the spiritual martial realm burst out in an instant. This was a sudden change. Some of the people who were still walking around were frightened and fled in all directions. In the dark night, dozens of black-clothed people stepped on the moonlight and tightly surrounded the shop. "Who are you? Why did you kill people for no reason?" The shopkeeper stood out and looked at the black-clothed people around him with a dignified expression. At the same time, he asked sternly, "How dare you kill people in the city? Are you ignoring the imperial court?" Someone else shouted. Killing people in the city was not a trivial matter. This was a provocation to the imperial court. Unless one was 100% sure, no one dared to do so. Facing these people's questions, the leader of the black-clothed people said coldly, "End the battle quickly. Send people to intercept the imperial court's reinforcements. Remember to focus on fighting. Don't kill people at will. Also, kill them as soon as possible regardless of the cost." As soon as he finished speaking, the 10 black-clothed people retreated. The remaining black-clothed people went to kill the people in the shop. Kill. The battle began. At the same time, the experts of the imperial court who were guarding the city also noticed the movement here. They wanted to send people to investigate, but they were stopped by the 10 black-clothed people. It was different from killing the people in the shop. These black-clothed people mainly focused on fighting with the experts of the imperial court. "Who are you? How dare you kill people in the city? Hurry up and surrender, and we'll be lenient with you." The experts of the imperial court in the city were also furious. Killing people in the city was undoubtedly rubbing their faces on the ground. However, no matter how they shouted, the 10 black-clothed people kept silent. Only their fierce attacks forced these people to stop. Similar situations were happening almost everywhere. The Traceless sect also received the news as soon as possible. "Our sect's spies in various places have been attacked. The attackers know our sect's movements very well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found most of our people so easily," Jing Bianyun said with a gloomy face. When the various places were attacked, he received the news. Although he had expected this result, Jing Bianyun still couldn't help but be furious when it really happened. This meant that those people finally couldn't hold back and were going to attack the Traceless sect. And Peng said in a deep voice, "Sect master means that there is a traitor among us. That's why the information was leaked." After that, he glanced at the other elders with killing intent in his eyes. Hearing this, an elder immediately said unhappily, "Eldarin, what do you mean? Are you suspecting us?" "Humph, it's not a simple matter for our spies to leak information for no reason. In that case, Eldarin may have betrayed us." An elder sneered, and Peng's attitude made them very dissatisfied. What did he mean? If there was a traitor, why did he look at them? Did they have the word traitor engraved on their foreheads? For a moment, many elders expressed their displeasure. In this regard, and Peng was angry, but his face became colder. "I was just saying, why are you so anxious? Did I hit the nail on the head? How dare you?" Peng, when this old man became an elder, you hadn't even entered the Traceless sect yet. Since when did a child like you have the right to question this old man? An elder at the late stage of the god martial realm was furious. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the hall became solemn. "Enough," Jing Bianyun shouted coldly. A terrifying aura swept out, making everyone's heart tighten. Elder and just made a slip of the tongue. "Elders, why don't you let it go? Our sect still prioritizes unity. If anyone dares to divide without permission, I'll be the first to kill him." The reprimand made the others' faces change slightly. Among the people present, Jing Bianyun was the strongest. Even the elder at the late stage of the god martial realm was shocked by the aura just now. Then, his eyes became gloomy. Jing Bianyun's strength had become stronger. After reprimanding these elders, Jing Bianyun looked at Pong and said coldly, "Elderin, don't talk nonsense. All the elders are loyal to the sect." I made a slip of the tongue. I hope sect master won't blame me. And Peng also admitted his mistake. In the Traceless sect, he only respected two people. One was Banqing, and the other was Jing Bianyun. Jing Bianyun said, "Our spies were attacked. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone betrayed us. Although our arrangement is tight, it's not difficult for some people who are always paying attention to our sect to find something. If I'm not wrong, the people who attacked this time should be the Dark Spirit Guards of the Great Spirit sect." Dark Spirit Guards? Many people were shocked. This name was not small at all. When the Dark Spirit Guards were at their peak, they had assassinated a great cultivator at the middle stage of the god martial realm. Because of this, many people in the Baiyun mansion had heard of the Dark Spirit Guards. However, the Great Spirit sect had always hidden the Dark Spirit Guards. Therefore, although their reputation had spread, few people had actually seen the Dark Spirit Guards. And Peng said, "The Great Spirit sect dares to attack at this time. Aren't you afraid that the Sky Origin sect will be angry?" "Why would the Sky Origin sect be angry?" Jing Bianyun asked. "The Great Spirit sect didn't attack our sect, nor did they interfere with the Supreme Elder's breakthrough. When did they go against the Sky Origin sect?" The Great Spirit sect's approach was tantamount to skirting the boundaries. The Sky Origin sect didn't let others interfere with Banqing's breakthrough. The Great Spirit sect also didn't attack the Traceless sect. Instead, they attacked the Traceless sect spies in various places. As long as these people were eradicated, even if the Traceless sect didn't completely lose its vision, it would still be at a loss. An elder said, "What does the Great Spirit sect mean?" "It's hard to say." Jing Bianyun shook his head and said, "But since the Great Spirit sect has taken action, this is just the beginning. In the next 1 or 2 days, the Great Spirit sect will definitely take action again. We must not take it lightly." For him, it didn't matter what the Great Spirit sect did. The Traceless sect's approach was to deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. No matter what the Great Spirit sect's plan was, as long as Banqing succeeded in his breakthrough, all their plans would be useless. Soon, the Supreme Elder will definitely come out in 2 days at the earliest and 3 or 4 days at the latest. As long as there are no accidents, the breakthrough is already 100% successful. As long as he can survive this period, he won't die. Jing Bianyun comforted. It was almost the 4th day, and the vision hadn't ended yet. The probability of success was already very high. Hearing this, the other elders were also relieved. As long as they guarded the mountain gate and didn't come out, there wouldn't be a big problem. As for the other losses, when the Supreme Elder succeeded in his breakthrough, he would naturally make up for them one by one. Just when the Traceless sect was holed up, Zhu Lingzi said, "Let the people of the 2 sects take action. The spies of the Traceless sect have almost been removed. Let's end the battle quickly. As long as we interfere with Banqing's forced exit, it will be fine." Killing Banqing was just a thought. The possibility was not high. But as long as they forced Banqing to come out, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Boom! In the sky above the Traceless sect, endless flames suddenly appeared and turned into a giant sword, slashing toward the mountain gate. "Who dares to behave atrociously in my Traceless sect?" Jing Bianyun took a step into the air and blasted out with his palm, directly dissipating the flame giant sword. Something unexpected happened. Suddenly, many experts in the Traceless sect were alarmed. At this moment, nearly 10 figures appeared, each of them wearing a mask. The weakest aura was at the peak of the spiritual martial realm, and many of them had reached the god martial realm. And the leader's aura was not weaker than Jing Bianyun's. Sure enough, they came. Jing Bianyun looked at those people and said in his heart. However, he was furious on the surface. He shouted sternly, "Who dares to cause trouble in my Traceless sect and stop my Supreme Elder from breaking through? Could it be that you want to go against the Yuan sect?" Hee, Jing Bianyun, don't use the Yuan sect to suppress others. I, Fanshan, have never been afraid of anyone. Today, Bansheng is destined to fail in his breakthrough. The leader, who was wearing a flame mask, sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, Fanshan instantly made his move. Raging flames erupted and turned into a sea of fire that swept across the sky, dispersing the darkness of the night sky. When he made his move, the people around Fanshan also rushed toward the other people of the Traceless sect. In an instant, a great battle broke out. Kill the enemy, Jing Bianyun roared and immediately blasted out a palm. The palm covered the sea of fire and rushed toward Fanshan. What Fanshan? In his opinion, it was just a fake name. Obviously, the other party was not willing to reveal his true identity to avoid being targeted by the Yuan sect. However, during the battle, Jing Bianyun kept guessing in his heart, wanting to know who the attacker was. Fanshan was not weak. At least, he was not much weaker than him. It was impossible for the experts who could cultivate to the peak of the divine martial realm in the world to be nameless, not to mention that so many of them had appeared at once. At first, Jing Bianyun thought that these people were from the giant spirit sect, but on second thought, he felt that it was impossible. Although there were many cultivation techniques in the giant spirit sect, there was no one like Fanshan who specialized in the raging flame's true origin. Boom! The great battle broke out, and terrifying fluctuations spread in all directions. The Traceless sect had long been noticed by other forces, so at this moment, the outbreak of the great battle attracted many people to watch in secret. It seems that someone finally can't help but want to stop Bansheng from breaking through. Someone gloated. Someone said coldly, the Baiyun mansion can't accommodate a second top sect. Hearing this, some people nodded in tacit agreement. That's right. The Baiyun mansion could not accommodate a second top sect. The cultivation world of a mansion could not be without a top sect, but it could not have too many top sections. There needed to be a balance. Obviously, the emergence of the Traceless sect broke this balance. Of course, if the Traceless sect became a top sect before the Yuan sect, then it would be the Yuan sect who was stopped from breaking through at this moment. Sometimes, a difference in order was enough to determine a lot of things. Are you able to tell which power the person who attacked is from? It's hard to say. There are many cultivators who cultivate the raging flame's true origin. Unless they reveal their true faces or have some trump cards, we can't tell. Do as you see fit. This is just the beginning. Someone said this, and the others also fell silent. Yes, this was just the beginning of stopping Bansheng's breakthrough. Everyone knew the strength of the Traceless sect. Although there were many experts in front of them, they were still a little weak to break through the Traceless sect. Needless to say, the attacker must have other backup plans. Jing Bianyun, I have no intention of becoming an enemy of the Traceless sect. As long as Bansheng stops breaking through now, we will retreat immediately. Fanshan condensed a long flame sword, cut through the night sky, and charged toward Jing Bianyun. The terrifying power was vast and mighty, showing the absolute strength of the peak of the god martial realm. Jing Bianyun struck out with his palm and said with a sneer, "Today, no one can stop the Supreme Elder from breaking through. Anyone who makes a move will be the mortal enemy of the Traceless sect. It's not too late for you to retreat now. Otherwise, once the Traceless sect finds out who you are, it will be an endless hatred." Stubborn. Fanshan shook his head and attacked even more fiercely. Inside the mountain gate of the Traceless sect, Gong Mingze tilted his head and asked, "Should we make a move?" "No hurry. The foundation of the Traceless sect is more than this. Let's wait and see. It's also a good opportunity to understand the foundation of this force that is about to become a top sect." Xiang Haogan shook his head and said, the battle had just begun, and neither side had revealed their real trump cards. It was true that they wanted to make a move, but not now. Only when the Traceless sect couldn't hold on any longer would the other party remember the kindness of the Traceless sect. Although it was not a problem to make a move now, it didn't mean much. Besides, Xiang Haogan said, the people who attacked the Traceless sect must have other backup plans. I also want to see who dares to disobey the order of our sect and stop Bansheng from breaking through. All right, Gong Mingze nodded. Although he was an expert at the late stage of the god martial realm, his status was lower than Xiang Haogan's. Xiang Haogan was a hall master and an inner sect elder. Gong Mingze had only joined the sect for a short time and didn't have any achievements. He could only be regarded as a guest elder. His status was lower than that of an outer sect elder. As for the other guest elder, at this moment, he was like a transparent person and didn't express any opinions. In his opinion, it was good to make a move at any time. Anyway, for this guest elder, the person who made the decision was Xiang Haogan. He just needed to follow his orders. Nothing else mattered. The battle was still going on. Jing Bianyun was worthy of being the sect master of the Traceless sect. His strength was superb, and he belonged to the top among the experts at the peak of the god martial realm. But even so, he couldn't gain the slightest advantage against Fanshan. The more the spectators watched, the more frightened they became. They were almost certain that Fanshan's identity was not simple. To be able to fight Jing Bianyun to a standstill, he must be a sect master. Boom. After crushing the sea of fire with one palm, Jing Bianyun suddenly clenched his fist in the void. At the same time, a shocking sword essence erupted from the mountain gate of the Traceless sect below. The next moment, a long sword flew up from below and headed toward the void. It was the sect's Taoist artifact. When Jing Bianyun held the long sword, his aura became as terrifying as an abyss. The expression behind Fanshan's mask also became solemn. The Taoist artifact of the Traceless sect was not simple. It was at the level of 3 seals, coupled with Jing Bianyun's strength. For a moment, Fanshan felt a great threat. Ignoring Fanshan's thoughts, Jing Bianyun took a step forward and slashed the void with his long sword. The star-like sword light sprinkled down and easily tore the sea of fire apart, forcing Fanshan to retreat. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? When Fanshan condensed several raging flame longswords and cancelled out the sword light, he also shouted loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, the long river of yin and yang ran through the void. The palm encompassed heaven and earth as it charged toward Jing Bianyun. At the same time, 10 powerful auras erupted from the void. 10 masked men in black directly joined the battle. You're finally here. Jing Bianyun looked solemn. In the face of this palm, he didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward and shattered the palm and the long river of yin and yang. He had long known that there was a backup plan. But now, with the appearance of the other party, he also felt a certain amount of pressure. The peak of the god martial realm. Another expert at the peak of the god martial realm. As for those who were hiding in the dark and watching the battle, when they saw the appearance of the experts, some of their faces changed. In less than half a day. Right now, there were already quite a number of experts who had appeared. 2 at the peak of the god martial realm, and more than a dozen great practitioners in the god martial realm. Such a force. Ordinary large sects might not be able to take out such a force even if they used all their strength. As the long river of yin and yang shattered, a masked man in black appeared and stood beside Fanshan. Hey Yang, you're finally willing to come out. I thought you were waiting for me to die. Fanshan said angrily. The black-clothed masked man, Hey Yang, said flatly, don't talk so much nonsense. Jing Bianyun has even brought out the Traceless sect's sect-guarding Dao artifact. Let's end this quickly, lest something unexpected happens. Kill him. I don't believe Yin Banshan can hold back. Fanshan smiled cruelly and then attacked again. At the same time, He Yang also struck out with his palm. The gray chi turned into endless silence, and the void seemed to wither. For a moment, the pressure on Jing Bianyun increased greatly. It was true that he had a Taoist artifact in hand, but facing 2 experts who were not weaker than him, even with the help of the Taoist artifact, he still felt strained. Please help us, Origin Sect experts. In this regard, Jing Bianyun had to ask for help. Below, Xiang Haogan smiled and said, It's time for us to make a move. 3 powerful auras erupted from the Traceless sect's mountain gate. Then, the 3 of them flew into the air and directly joined the battle. P.S. I recommend a book, Invincible Vajra Master. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.